Good evening, Wakefield. I call to order this meeting of December 8th, and I ask everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to attendance, all my fellow town councilors are in attendance today and in the studio. Moving on to item 4, public participation. Sherry, is anyone on the Zoom for public participation?
We have no one tonight for public participation.
Great, and we have no one in the studio for public participation as well. We have 2 minutes until we continue our public hearing, so Councilor Chines, can we maybe do the minutes?
Sure. Madam Chair, move to approve the Town Council minutes of November 11th, 2025.
Been seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. 7-0, great.
I'll actually ask if someone else could make the motion for the next one since I was not at the executive session.
Sure, I'll take care of it. Madam Chair, I move that the minutes of the Town Council Executive Meeting on November 10th, 2025 be approved.
Seconded, great. Any discussion? All in favor? Abstain? Great. 601. Sherry, and item C.
Madam Chair, move to approve the tri-board minutes from November 17th, 2025.
Second.
Seconded. Great, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye, thank you. 7:02, so we're going to go really quick, slowly. Back to item 5A. We need a roll call vote to open the public hearing, correct?
Do you want to do the donations if we have a minute to spill?
Let's do the donations.
Madam Chair, move to approve donations in the amount of $1,710 to the BB Library from various donors with thanks.
Seconded, all in favor? Say aye, great, 7-0.
And move to approve donations in the amount of $100 to the Senior Center.
Seconded, great, all in favor, say aye. Aye, great, 7-0. Thank you. I could have talked slowly, though, Jonathan.
Now it's
Would have
7:03,
gotten there.
so
Perfect timing now.
Move to open the public hearing for the relocation of a pole to accommodate road construction at 193 to 199 Nahant Street.
And do I have a second? Second, and we have to do a roll call vote for public hearing. Councilor Fox?
Yes.
Councilor Chrisley?
Yes.
Councilor Constance?
Yes.
Councilor Butler?
Yes.
Councilor Chines?
Yes.
Councilor Carney? And myself, yes. Is Verizon here? Are they on the Zoom, Sherry?
Well, we have Light Department. I'm going to bring them over right now.
We can't see you. Is there a way that we could maybe see her on the? Thank you.
I mean, I do have my video off. I'm really not like.
Oh, we just can't see anyone, so we were just seeing the presentation.
Right.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah, good morning. Dave Colson is over right now, and this might be somebody from Verizon I'm bringing over.
Yes, I'll be representing Verizon about this matter.
Thank you.
Great. Can you introduce yourself, and then the floor is yours?
Yes, first name Alexander, last name Marrero, Marrero. I'm a resident of 17 Cross Street, Marlborough, Massachusetts. Employee of Pike, PIKE Telecom and Renewables LLC. An authorized contractor for Verizon New England Incorporated. I'll be representing Verizon on this matter in front of you this evening and answer any questions that you, or the members of the public, might have about this petition. So Verizon is petitioned to relocate one existing joint-owned pole, number 26, located on the southern side of Nahant Street, approximately 15 feet in a westerly direction. Verizon is hereby making this petition at the request of the owners of 196 Nahant Street. My understanding is that the existing pole is in the way of a new proposed street to be named Dean Road. The new pole will be a like for like, so the existing is a 40-foot class 2 and the new pole will be a 40-foot class 2.
Thank you. Engineering department, anything to add? Thanks, Bill.
Hi, good evening, Bill Renaud, Town Engineer. We provided you a memo, Madam Chair, back, let's see, on November 3rd.
Yep.
With a couple of recommended conditions. So prior to commencing the work, we'd like the applicant to file a right-of-way and utility permit with my office to provide bonds and insurance for the work, as we do for all work in the right-of-way. And also just to have the relocated pole not be placed within the limits of the existing driveway apron next to where they're looking to move it to. And that's all we have.
Okay. Opening it up to any questions. Councilor Constance.
So Bill, has Verizon agreed to these conditions, or what's the status of your discussion with them?
No, we've had some discussions with them when we were doing our, when we were doing our review, but in general, that's pretty standard stuff. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilor Butler.
If we don't approve it, does it constitute Dean Street not being able to be built?
The road's already in at this
Okay.
point. Yeah, I mean, it's being moved a few feet based on, just for sight distance is really the reason for it.
Okay.
And so Dean Street is honestly a glorified driveway. It had to go through a subdivision process, but it's a driveway for one new house. That's what it really is.
Oh, okay. Oh, I was thinking this was where the new
This isn't
proposed
a
development.
No. This is much
No, I
different.
was like, oh, that'd be an interesting way around it. All right then.
It would, yeah.
Comment from.
Oh,
Gas and-
gas and light. Yes.
Yes, I just wanted to comment on what Bill mentioned. So the driveway was put in, but the guy wire is in the way of the driveway, so the owner of the property, the developer of the property can't continue and finish their paving until the guy wire and the pole have been removed. And also the pole is extremely close to the existing driveway/road going up to the new house and runs the risk of being damaged by a motor vehicle due to the location of the pole in the driveway, near the at the edge of the driveway. So it represents a utility hazard to the residents and to the owners of the property that would ultimately live there, entering and exiting the roadway, their roadway.
Okay, great. So
We support it moved.
you want it moved. Is that what you said?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, we support it being moved 10 or 15 in the westerly direction, correct.
So, sir, from Verizon, the two conditions that the engineering department would like to put in, are you okay with those?
Yes, they sound reasonable.
Yeah, so you'll file the right-of-way utility permit with the department, and the pole won't be placed within the limits of any existing or proposed driveway?
Correct.
Is Verizon paying for the relocation of the pole? Is it at their cost or is it at?
I wouldn't know. That'd be a question for Verizon.
Yeah.
Based on my records, it's being done at the homeowner's expense.
Okay.
But not being charged to the town?
Nope, no cost to the town.
No cost to the town. Okay, any members of the public have questions? Anyone on Zoom? Sherry?
No, we're all set.
Perfect. Okay, do I have a motion?
Yes, move to approve the request to relocate the utility pole at 193 to 199 Nahant Street, subject to the following conditions. One, prior to commencing the pole relocation work, the applicant's contractor shall file a right-of-way utility permit with the Department of Public Works Engineering Division and provide the associated bonds and insurance. And two, the relocated utility pole shall not be placed within the limits of any existing or proposed driveway apron. The final location must maintain clear access for vehicles and pedestrians and avoid conflicts with driveway use.
Second.
Seconded, great. Do I have to do a roll call vote for the vote too? No. I can't remember. We're going to do it anyway. Counselor Fox. Counselor Kersley?
Yes.
Counselor Constance?
Yes.
Counselor Butler?
Yes.
Counselor Chines?
Yes.
Counselor Cartney? And myself is yes. Thank you.
Right, Madam Chair, move to close the public hearing.
Do we need to do, we have to do B?
It's a second hearing, so we have to close and reopen.
Oh,
We do?
do we?
Wow.
Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Motion to close. Can I get a second? Second, great. Counselor Fox. Counselor Kersley.
Yes.
Counselor Constance?
Yes.
Counselor Butler?
Yes.
Counselor Chines?
Yes.
Counselor Carney? And myself, yes.
And move to open a public hearing related to the installation of one pole on the southerly side of Hemlock Road as proposed.
Seconded, great. Counselor Fox?
Yes.
Counselor Kersley?
Yes.
Counselor Constance?
Yes.
Counselor Butler?
Does it have to be unanimous? Or is it just majority? No.
It's just majority. Oh. Counselor Chines?
Abstain.
Counselor Carney and myself, 6-1 to open the public hearing.
So we didn't provide you a memo for this one. So Hemlock Road is actually a DCR maintained roadway. So they have an easement that is essentially what Hemlock Road is. The underlying property, though, is town property. So it's a little bit of a different one. I'm not sure the poll petition, if it should even be here, to be honest with you. So that's you know, I don't know if
Yeah.
Verizon has talked to DCR at all, or, because I think they're the ones that would be approving this.
Yeah, so Gabriel from Verizon sent me an email this morning, and he
Okay.
said that they found this location to be owned by the Vogue, so they're going to obtain the rights from them.
Okay,
Yep.
fair enough.
Okay.
Okay. So in that case, there's no
Public hearing,
request to,
Yeah,
Correct.
correct.
Yep.
all right.
Looks
In
like
that
I was right.
Madam Chair, move to close the public hearing.
Seconded, great. Counselor Fox?
Yes.
Counselor Kersley?
Yes.
Counselor Constance?
Yes.
Counselor Butler?
Yes.
Counselor Carney?
Yes.
Counselor Chines?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Thank you. Thank you, Gas and Light and Verizon, for being on the phone call.
Thank you.
And Sherry, just you'll kind of maybe send an email or communications onto the superintendent at the VOC.
Yes. Yep.
Great, perfect. Okay. Moving on to item 6A, Department of Public Works updates.
Yep.
Good evening, everyone. So, thank you for having us tonight. For the record, Joe Conway, Public Works Director, obviously no stranger to this room. Bill Renault, our town engineer. Also with us, I'd like to introduce this is Stephen Fitzpatrick. He is our water production manager and responsible for everything water quality related, with anything that has to do with the water enterprise. And then additionally joining us, we have a heavy group this evening as compared to normal. Ryan Algrove, who's the engineer for Apex Engineering. He is our water consultant that will come in and help us with things when they become rather technical or something that is a little bit beyond, the ordinary day-to-day for our staff to do. Water treatment plants, the tank project, things of that nature. So in front of you tonight, we have an update related to a topic that's been kind of bounced around and talked about, in little pieces here and there when we've been in here. On PFAS, I have a slow presentation that we'll walk through. Candidly, it's a lot of the same information that's covered in the packet that you got, whether it be the technical assessment that you saw, the letter that was penned by the advisory board, and whatnot. What our goal is at the end of the night or the end of the presentation is to secure our next steps through a vote of the council so that we can see whatever task that may be through to completion. So I do have a presentation to walk through, so. That's okay. We can go without it. Everybody got.
There.
No, that's not.
Oh,
Which one is it?
It looks like it was the second
it says
one.
Wakefield PFAS assessment.
With the.
It's got the bandstand on the cover sheet.
Because, yeah, I got the 3 from D, and then I got the 1 for you, the 1 image.
Okay, we can go. You all got that. It's in the meeting material. So if we don't have it up behind us, really, to be honest with you, it is just a bunch of words. It's more talking points, so we don't get lost in our conversation. There's nothing really too attractive as far as visuals or anything in this. So what are these PFAS things? So why are we here? This will probably be the only time that I try to pronounce these terms the whole way through. We'll just refer to them as PFAS after the fact, but per and polyfluoral alkyl substances. Did I get that?
That's pretty good.
Okay. So, in short, they're a group of human-made chemicals. They're very breakdown resistant. They were manufactured since roughly the 1940s through a whole bunch of different industries for a variety of purposes. Historically, their intended use is things like waterproofing, stain-proofing, firefighting foam, heat resistance, and non-stick food packaging, or some of the coatings that we've all had in our kitchen pans. Outside of their intended use, these have also been starting to show up in food, crops, animals, soils, landfills, wastewater, different water bodies, whether they be for drinking water or recreational water, and the most important being obviously drinking water sources, which is why we're in front of you today. Really what's prompting this discussion in front of the council tonight, as I mentioned, so these chemicals, these PFAS chemicals, are very highly resistant to break down in the environment. To the point where the EPA published information advising negative health effects from these. And they've also put out literature with exposure-linked health concerns that have prompted action at the federal and the state level to regulate these things because they deem them not safe. Most importantly, or not most importantly, but most pressing for this conversation, because of the heightened importance and concentration on these chemicals, regulatory action at the state and federal level is being enacted that will have an effect on how the town of Wakefield treats and manufactures compliant potable water for our residents. So just to put this into perspective a little bit, if we go back to 2020, Massachusetts enacted through the Department of Environmental Protection a MCL, so that's the maximum contaminant level that can be observed in testing results from water suppliers just like the town of Wakefield. At this point in time, the EPA had a federal MCL of 70 parts per trillion. Massachusetts, being Massachusetts, set a stricter compliance threshold for that, and for 6 specific compounds, water suppliers needed to meet a threshold of 20 parts per trillion. To put parts per trillion in perspective, we're talking about one drop of water on the equivalent volume of about 20 Olympic-sized swimming pools, or $1 bill out of a $1 trillion bank account. So this is serious business for them. They treat it very seriously. It's a very heightened, very small threshold that they have for these things to be in existence and for water suppliers to be in compliance. Wakefield fared pretty well. underneath even the stricter statewide compliance. Fast forward to April 10th, 2024. The United States EPA at the federal level announced the final version of a national drinking water regulation that had been in development for some time. It's something that had come up previously in some of our rate discussions. I actually remember Councilor Chines asking a great question a few years back. We were talking about these chemicals, and you had asked if we thought that more of these would be regulated or if compliance would get stricter. You were well ahead of us today because compliance got more stricter, and you're right on.
I'm impressed that you remember that. That's an aside.
It stuck out because this thing, as you know, if you flip through the technical memo, this is a bear. It's very technical. We tried to include everything that went out to contain as little amount of jargon as we could. This is just one of those topics where sometimes you can't avoid it. Anyway, 2024. So the EPA establishes the final rule for a new legally enforceable maximum contaminant level for PFAS. In this, two specific types that we'll talk about will end up being the most critical to us, PFOA and PFOS. Each one of those were selected to have a stricter compliance threshold, and each one of those compounds, if detected, need to be at a level lower than 4 parts per trillion. In this, EPA set a deadline for 2029, so anybody that observes this in their testing, that is over the benchmark that they set, needs to have a plan in place to address it. Additionally, within that, they dictated to the states that come April 2026, state regulations need to be enacted on this exact topic that can be no less stringent than what the federal government did with the EPA. If this is anything like it was before, I would anticipate sometime around April that Massachusetts would be a step above this and actually clamp down a little bit more on that. So knowing all this, once this seemed like this was going to be coming to fruition and we got the final word from EPA, what action did we take? So we've been monitoring this since testing started. Over the past couple of years, we've been paying attention to it, seeing if there's any way that we could figure out if these things were discovered, even at a minuscule level, if we could identify what that source is and eliminate it. Some of the other things we've been doing is looking at historical testing data versus what the new regulations will hold us to. What we found is that PFOA and PFOS historically have averaged above the benchmark that is going to be set by EPA. So they're above that 4 parts per trillion. Understanding this, and based on our preliminary review, we took this a step further. We brought in Apex to take a look at us at a more stringent level. So obviously we've identified these things are present and they're going to be around. What do we need to do, or what can we do that's advantageous to us to either remedy this and get rid of them, or find some sort of alternative that remains in compliance?
Joe, didn't they extend to 2031, the deadline?
Some of them have.
I think the EPA nationally has.
Right.
So are we doing this too early is the bigger question. I feel like it feels like they did it in 2024 and 2025. They're like, well, people can't make this at 29, so they'll push it to 31. It seems... what I don't want to do is I don't want us to spend, go in a wildly different direction if we've got 5 years to figure this out. And if the notion is to switch to MWRA only, how long is that ramp up? I feel like we might be getting ahead of ourselves doing something now.
So as soon as the states, I might have to tap in Ryan for this one. So there has been some rollback on some of these. PFAS substances, there's about 4,000 of them that are identified that are out there.
But just on the PFOA and the EPA did come out with that.
Yes, so we don't have any indication that, although they did roll back some of the regulation for PFAS, specific to what we're doing here, we don't have any data that says that may be altered in any way at this point in time.
I think they've extended the deadline from 29 to 31. That is clear. That they've announced. That's been out there since 5 months ago.
Do you have anything more on that, Ryan? He might not have carried over yet.
Sherry, is Ryan on the Zoom?
Sorry, I should have clarified that.
Yeah,
No,
that's
I'm
all
just
right.
I thought you were
trying
just.
to
No, totally.
I thought you were adding to the
No,
either.
no.
I was like,
No,
I didn't know there was going to be anybody else.
my apologies. I should have clarified that in the beginning.
Okay, Ryan's coming over now.
Sorry, Ryan. Either way, Councilor Butler, so we will still have something coming from the state in April, whether the federal government moves the needle or not. There is still going to be some action at the state level that we're going to have to react to.
I don't know if that's true. If the EPA delays it,
Joe, I'm
would
here.
the state, yeah, I'd be interested to hear from
Sorry, Ryan,
Apex.
did you get any of that about the rollback?
Yeah, so when the Trump administration came in, they reviewed all the EPA regs that came out under the previous administration. PFOA and PFOS at this point, they're not rolling back the 4 parts per trillion threshold.
No, it's not the rollback, it's that the deadline has been extended from 29 to 31.
Correct.
Yeah, so we have 5 years from next year.
And Ryan, do you have any inclination from the state on whether or not they piggyback that at this point in time?
They can only be more stringent, so we don't know what the state's going to do at this point. I wouldn't venture a guess. But I will say that, on top of the deadline to be in compliance, there's an earlier deadline of, at some point, I think it's 2 years before the actual compliance deadline, the town will have to start notifying people that we are out of compliance and here's what we're doing. So there is some deadlines before the actual compliance deadline.
so why don't we let Joe finish the presentation and then? Well, no, we should.
I think
if
we'll circle back. I think
Yeah.
we'll cover some of this. as we get
it sounds like we're ahead. We're like planning for a future that's a little far away.
Trying to be, yes.
Yeah.
But I'll say that some of the planning process is very long.
Yeah.
And there's, bureaucratic elements to it that will take time. So even though something may seem like it's 2, 3, 5 years down the road, by the time you go through all the steps, that's not actually going to be, very long at all. Anywho.
Are we on the right slide? I'm sorry.
Yes, can you go 2 more forward, please? It should be the slide that says step 2.
You have to bear with it. Adobe PDFs are a little.
Is it one?
It's not. How's that?
Go 1 more? 1 more, sorry about that. This is a testing results.
There we go.
All
Okay,
right,
got
perfect.
it.
So preliminary benchtop data, identifying that these things are there. So now we need to understand whether or not we even have the space and the means to put treatment into place for this to happen. So some of the things that we looked at with the help of Ryan and his group, can we accomplish treatment on site within the constraints that we have at our parcel on 108 Broadway? What does conceptual design look like? What are our permitting needs? Basically an exploratory scope development. Design and construction cost estimation, and then some cost benefit analysis at this time. Are there any alternative sourcing options available to us based on proximity? And is decommissioning something that could be potential here? So by the time we got through the end of all this work to this point, we basically hit the fork in the road. And 2 paths are in front of us in how we want to handle this. So option 1, the water enterprise issues bonds and performs the design, the pilot studies, permitting, construction of a capital improvement to our treatment plant, which is not set up right now in any way, shape, or form to be able to treat for these chemicals. To put the infrastructure in place, we would need to remove it. Some of the benefits, obviously, you still remain treating locally in-house. And, pending the pilots, it appears that we're going to be able to fit one of these systems on our property as presently constructed. Some of the drawbacks, obviously, Crystal Lake does not meet the complete demand for the town there. So we'd be designing a treatment system that would cover approximately 10 to 20% of our yield. We would have to obviously expend for some capital infrastructure, so there would be a borrowing related to that, and then some budgetary adjustments for operating these things. If this were to be built, it would be using a substance called granular activated carbon, which is a physical media that's used to treat these. So there'll be some things like acquiring that, replacing that, electricity needs, so on and so forth. Option 2, pursue decommissioning of our facility and go full MWRA. So in some of the preliminary conversations we've had with MWRA and DEP, the regulatory hurdles for this for the town of Wakefield are minimal. We're in a very unique situation where Wakefield is fed by multiple points within the MWRA distribution system. And we remember actually formerly MDC before MWRA was even created. So for us, there is no Interbasin Transfer Act, which could take years for some members to go through to get permitted to do that. Obviously, if decommissioning is on the table and is found to be the most advantageous option, the investment for that would be minimal as compared to building a new facility. Capital and operational funding for the treatment side would go away, so that would be a budget reduction there. One thing to note, no matter what happens, if the town is to pursue decommissioning, the status of Crystal Lake as a water supply will not go away. It may not be active because we're not actively pumping, but it will still function as either an alternative or an emergency. And in some of the...
So no fishing even if we decommission?
So that's a great question. So one of the things that DEP mentioned to us, we were just kicking the tires on it if this is something that's... Can we even talk about this? They had mentioned that they would like to see, if the town pursued this route, provisions be in place so that Crystal Lake would still remain at a minimum an emergency water supply. So it's a little presumptuous to talk about what else could potentially change. Could, if we weren't actively pumping water, could more fishing or recreation happen? Maybe, but we need the DEP to weigh in fully on that once we have a direction that we're going to head.
I mean, I think at 4.7 parts instead of 4, we're probably pretty safe in terms of if it's an emergency water supply.
So what we imagine emergency water supply, the intake would be still physically there. It would come to the wall, the standpipe. Essentially what it would be is if the state or the region was having a very, very bad time, that you could bring in portable treatment skids, still draw out. There'd be something like a trailer-mounted unit or something that gets offloaded and put in as a temporary basis. What exactly that may look like is still subject to their review and input.
How long does option 2 take to turn on?
So Wakefield being in the unique state that it's in, as far as the MWRA is concerned, we just have to notify them. And then as far as the DEP is concerned, we still have to notify them. I don't believe the timeline for that is very long. I don't think in any of the conversations we had with them, they made it sound like it was going to be a very long process. I think, in some of the conversations we've had, and certainly at least Steve and probably the most, they're come to expect that from a lot of communities that have the options. There are some places that have no options and need to do these.
We're very fortunate to be in the position that we're in, to be able, where other people are dealing, or communities are dealing with these circumstances and are struggling to find an alternative source. So fortunately for us, we have this right in front of us, if that is.
Yeah, there are other communities that are actually looking to expand the MWRA system through other towns to themselves. I know a couple that are looking to do that and exploring that as their option. to meet the compliance deadlines.
Can we just do the final slide and then we'll go?
That's it.
We'll ask.
So
There's
the-
one more, just the money slide.
The final one.
Money slide.
And then we'll go into questions.
So this is a breakout based on all the information we had available at the time of what some of the cost comparison could look like. The taller graphs there, the multicolored ones, are what a capital project may look like if we were to treat on-site in-house. A couple of reasons why it's multicolored, like I had mentioned before. Until we get to the point where we're running this thing and we can, confirm what the breakthrough is. What the breakthrough is basically is the power or the level of treatment you need to rid of these things. One of the things we don't know is the media that I had mentioned earlier, if that is going to be something that we're replacing twice a year, annually, every other year. Unfortunately, we won't know that until we get much closer to a design and construction and actually flowing water through it. So we tried to show a range of what the potential that could be. And then as far as the MWRA option you see there below in yellow, that represents what the cost of purchasing the estimated 73 million gallons additional we would need to bridge the gap, as well as some funds to decommission the plant based on the DEP's guidance. And I will say on the MWRA option there too, there is a potential for a lot of the work to be done to decommission in-house, but where we don't have anything in writing concrete from DEP is exactly what they're going to be looking for. We're just trying to show that the best guess based on the information we have of what this could look like realistically.
No, you
I'm
go to
coming.
all the
No,
people.
we're gonna, so many questions because this stuff is not easy.
Right.
I just want to understand. So currently, the state's regulation is 20 parts per trillion. That's currently what we're going through
Today.
today. And we know in April of 2026, they're going to relook at those guidelines and likely become stricter, but we don't know yet.
Go ahead.
Stricter within those guidelines is PFAS. Think of it as a chain or a branch of a bunch of different compounds that are making that up. So 20 is a group of 6 called the PFAS 6, which is what the current regulation is based on at 20. Okay. Then within those, there are the ones that make that PFAS 6 up, PFOA and PFOS being 2 of those. Those are the 2 that they're going to analyze more, which evidently are obviously the ones that appear more in the testing anyways. So that's a regulation within the regulation.
Got it. But so currently, from the 2020 regulations, we're meeting the regulations.
Correct.
Correct. So, and the feds passed something in 2024, but now that's been pushed down till 2031.
It pushed from 2029 to 2031, but at the same time, though, we have had times where we've exceeded that threshold. So it's not that we're always necessarily below, but for the majority, I would say probably even more than the majority, pretty much what I would say the last 3 years we've had 1 or 2 hits that have exceeded.
Yeah.
So they do creep up within this water supply.
And we're able to mitigate that when it's happened. I feel like we've heard that it's happened.
Well, yeah, it turns off essentially.
So the last time this happened, a couple of years ago, we had an abnormally high hit, and my personal opinion, it going through the whole exercise of trying to recreate it and drill down to what caused that lends me to believe personally that something was either a lab issue or a sample issue. There is no retesting on this. So as soon as that happened, we go off. We engage DEP, and then they run through a series of things that they are looking for us to do to attempt, to try to recreate this, isolate this, and come up with, some sort of way to be able to put our hands on why this happened. The last time that happened, we weren't able to identify anything that we could address directly. It seemed like just as time passed, and every time it rains, the water body, the chemical makeup of it, as crazy as it is to say, changes. So after some time and running through everything, about 8 months or so, We were able to get a test back that was to their satisfaction. They allowed us to return. If we were to have something like that happen again, would they go through the same process with us potentially? Would it be harder to demonstrate to them that, this acute issue or whatever, may materialize as something that we honestly can't figure out concretely and go right after? More than likely, yes.
So I'm the one that tests for. I personally take the tests themselves. I conduct the testing. With that being said, I'm firsthand the results, which I put a tape together of some of them, and what I've gathered is, although we've never been in any kind of non-compliant situation where we've exceeded but we have had an elevated hit, here and there. Not to make the regulation more convoluted or confusing, but it's a running quarterly average.
Right.
So if you get it's actually out of with a divide of 60. So if you had out of your quarter, your first sample was a 60, you're done. But if you had a 20 or above a 20, and your next two quarters were below, in the 8s and 7, then you're going to be okay, because it's a running quarterly average, which is a bit confusing. But what I've seen is that they fluctuate. It fluctuates so much, and I don't change any protocol. I actually take it very, very seriously on how I address the samples, down to what I wear. I mean, because anything, even this shirt may have some kind of rain defender gear on it, all cotton. I take it very seriously, and I just looking at the results that I've experienced, I never know where it's going to fall. It just seems to be up and down, and there's really no way of knowing that. So on that elevated hit that we had back in 2022, we took it offline. I took multiple samples in different locations. I flushed, and and then I took another sample, and then another sample, and then I took a sample that was satisfactory to the DEP, and they said, okay, you can turn back online. But essentially, I didn't treat for it. We didn't do any. There's nothing, because the only way to treat it is to move to what we've shown as far as granular activated carbon. So it just went away, whether it be the rain or we don't know the answers to those questions.
One quick question. So when you say shut off, does that mean you shut off the Crystal Lake supply? Or
Yes.
You shut off a combination of MWR plus Crystal Lake.
No,
No, we couldn't do that. No water.
You wouldn't know it if we shut off that.
Yeah. The phone would be ringing at my office quite a bit.
MWRA actually, when they performed their testing, it was much bigger than their reach is huge, but same compliance that they have to meet that we have to meet. Their water quality is actually registered as something they call non-detect. Yeah. So the levels of PFAS that may or may not be in that water are at a point where it's so small that the instruments and things like that they're using to detect them don't quantify enough of it for it to even register at this point. Could that change? Sure. Technology changes everything. You're going to be able to design something that tests it much better as time goes on. But for right now, I would venture to guess they probably have the best water quality in the country in that topic.
I read a little bit about the Quabbin and Alphabet. So that's the supply that's coming directly from Quabbin.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Most of it, Carroll Treatment Plant, gets pushed this way, ends up here.
Councilor Jones.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for this presentation. I mean, this is not an easy topic to understand, not an easy topic to explain, and appreciate all of the work that's gone into this and the effort, all the detail that was in the report. I was wondering if you could go back to the last slide in the deck. So we have a lot of unknowns. Obviously, we don't know, what the state will do from a regulatory standpoint. The feds have kind of pushed the requirements back to 2031, though notably they haven't repealed the regulation, and so whether it's 2029 or 2031, it feels like a higher standard is coming, and it feels like we are going to have to do something. I think, to me, this slide is sort of the telling one, because I look at this and I say, under the best of scenarios, meaning you can get away with not replacing the media in the water treatment plant for 2 years at a time, best case scenario is it would cost us $1 million more to try to remediate the water supply annually over this 20-year life of the loans that we would be taking.
Correct. And this chart is assuming that a good portion of the project is financed at 0%, and then 2% was the other one as noted in the memo, so.
Yeah, so I look at that and I feel like this is sort of a no-brainer discussion. I mean, the question would be if we do decide to move entirely to the MWRA, we have to think about when, and I think, to Councilor Butler's point, understanding the regulatory requirement and knowing sort of when it makes sense to cut over so we're not incurring additional cost before then is something we should be careful about. But in terms of a decision point of, do we remediate the water treatment plant or rely entirely on the MWRA? Like, I just don't see a scenario where it makes sense for us to do the remediation in Wakefield for something that's 10% of our water supply on average. And, for a set of regulations, we're talking about 2031, but, we're going to be paying for this, we would be paying for this plant for 20 years. I don't know, we don't know what regulations would come in 2024, 2040 or 2045.
And that's a big point.
I feel much more comfortable about an organization like the MWRA that has the scale to be able to make these kind of massive, massive investments, sort of owning the problem rather than us trying to own it locally again for something that's a pretty small portion of our overall water supply.
It's one of the tough parts of having this conversation this way. We have options. There are a lot of places where the decision is made for them. They don't have it. In the memo, you'll see on top of the maximum contaminant levels, there are also a little foreshadowing done by the EPA where their goals are everything is set to 0. Yep. So whether it's their version of Easter eggs or or what have you, I would only venture to guess that they're creeping the door open, for what the future may look like. Again, the only other thing, not to pile on, but any of these costs associated with, what we've put together here today is only to fix PFAS acutely. Right. So this does not, we shut down seasonally, usually in July and August for iron and manganese. Geologically, Wakefield's loaded with it all throughout town. We've had, different wells and different things. Our neighbors to the north have the same thing going on there to the point where now they're shuttling water, through us. So who knows what that is going to turn into either. So, it'd be a really tough time to come in here and have to talk to you about not only this, but then piggybacking something else too.
I think one other point to make too is that, within these costs, and when we talk about the media need to kind of, replace it, that's contaminated media that has to be disposed of correctly. Those costs we don't have control over either down the road. So it's another piece.
That they're going to be higher in 20 years.
I would agree with that for sure. I think you can bank on that for sure. But it's just another point to keep in mind of things that we can control and actually forecast. I mean, there's a lot of risk even with moving forward with a replacement if the council was to decide to move in that direction.
So Councilor Carney and then Councilor Thompson.
I'm just wondering from the standpoint of when are we going to overtax Quantum? When are they going to be looking at, and I don't know where we measure compared to other reservoirs that are contributing like we are, but if other folks are in worse shape than them, they're going to be turning to Quabbin.
So that's a great point. So in some of the conversations that led to getting to this point today was that exact question posed to the authority. Do you have the capacity for us, if the decision was made that it's no longer advantageous to treat in-house, to join you fully? And their reply was yes, both hydraulically and from a supply standpoint. Their work to forecast and, what they have as far as the means to be able to do this, they can do that. I don't think it's any secret that MWRA is building redundancy headed towards Essex County. A lot of work headed through, Reading and Stoneham and such to get more of their supply further north. So I would imagine that, at some point in the near future, we would go from being basically the end of their system to somewhere, a little closer to the middle, but according to them, they do not have any holdbacks or anything like that from a supply standpoint if we were to decide that we wanted to utilize them.
It's an incredible resource. I've been out there. It's pretty awesome. But yeah, there's no as of right now.
Thank you.
Councilor Cossett?
I'm also concerned about the timeliness of making this decision when there's so much regulatory uncertainty. You know, we know what's going on with lots of regulations at the federal level. It's complete chaos right now. It's impossible for us to predict. You know, it's already been pushed 2 years. Who knows if these two constituents are going to be moved? Right now, no, but we don't know. That's a cloudy crystal ball. So my question is, and the state has said something and they haven't moved their deadlines as of yet, but I feel like they may. I don't know. I feel like I'd love to hear from somebody from the state, but that's my first question. But my second one is, what happened, let's say nothing changes.
Yeah.
In April of next year, what does the state want us to do? Commit to a plan? We don't have to be in compliance by April of next year. We just have to say we have a plan, or what exactly is the state asking us to do?
I think we need to read whatever their guidance is. From a timing standpoint for us, knowing that these deadlines and some of the pilot studies and things that would need to happen, their deadline, unfortunately, isn't in advance enough for us to see it and react to it. We need to prepare for likely a borrowing for design. So we're motivated by being in town meeting, asking potentially for what we need should we have to move forward with trying to build one of these things. And until we get the information that may or may not change that, that's kind of the path where, like the car at Canopy Lake, we're kind of locked in until we get an out that may or may not come.
I mean, we're looking at a 2 to 3 year process to get a new treatment plant on, active and
Oh, I'm not talking about the new treatment plant.
No, I hear you, but that's why it's an important conversation.
There's a consensus in the room, I feel like, about that.
Yeah, I would hope so, but that's that's really what drives the timing, right? So from our standpoint, honestly, we can.
That's why you're here, and to get ahead of town meeting.
As long as we're all on the same page.
I think there's more information needed in April, and then maybe you all will come back in front of us. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Fox?
So I had a question under option 2. It says under the drawbacks, additional water purchase required to meet demand, about 300,000, 400,000 estimate. What do you think that would end up costing us as water customers if we went that route? Would there be a big change in water bills, or would they be a little bit of a hit?
No, I shouldn't say that. That cost would be for the wholesale water. It's tough to give you a black and white because it's dynamic. If there's a lot of activity, every time you fight a fire, that's something that we all absorb.
Yeah.
What that doesn't take into account completely at this point is how the budget would offset that. So anything that we have in for a line item that may be solely related to treatment could obviously come out and try to minimize that. So if we were to go down that route, we would make sure that we're doing whatever we can, as thrifty as we can be, so that that is absorbed. And we don't want volatility. We don't want to be here today and then tomorrow up here. We want to stay nice and smooth if we can. What that would end up being to the ratepayer.
I mean, I think it's less than 2% of the enterprise budget.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Nice that people are complaining now, never mind.
Yeah. I'd love to come in and tell you annually that our recommendation is 0. That's the ultimate goal. In this scenario, it's either way, we're going to have some sort of investment. This one, I'd say you'd probably move the needle 0.5% maybe, give or take. But being mindful of that, we can plan for it.
Yeah.
Either way, we're going to have to plan for it. So whatever way we go.
It certainly beats building a whole new facility. So. Thank you.
Councillor Chrisley?
You may have already touched on this, Joe, but do you have like a critical path schedule for option 2? Like, if it sounds like a lot of the discussion here is leaning towards option 2 for various timing and capital construction cost reasons, but do you have a critical path schedule for what the town would need to do for that option?
So no, really,
Well, I was just going to say that's kind of why we're here. So if everyone's leaning in that direction, which is kind of what I'm hearing here today, then we can explore that. We just needed to know sort of which direction the council thought we need to be looking.
Right.
If it was a hard no that we want to keep this water supply active, then that's obviously a completely different conversation for us, and we wouldn't even be exploring it. So
really the steps would be to engage the DEP and notify them that, this potential change is going to, say we were instructed to work with them and pursue decommissioning. We would engage with them.
This is decommissioning of the Crystal Lake.
Correct. Or decommission is probably hard, but turning it into an alternative water source, really, and not actively pumping it. And then the timeline would really get dictated by DEP. So depending on what they tell us they would like to see us do to satisfy that, if it's as easy as Stephen and his crew going out and physically disconnecting the discharge piping from the plant from the water mains, relatively easy. We do that all the time. If they have, other things that they give us that are a little bit more technically involved, that may push that out a little bit. So it really depends on what they come back to us with.
So is it as easy as just shutting off the Crystal Lake plant and you have the other 3 main feeders coming into town from the MWRA system and just increasing the flow through those 3 piping systems?
Essentially.
Yeah.
We do it in the summer. So yeah, that's what we do in the summer.
Okay.
When we're offline,
Yeah.
that's what's happening anyway, so it would be like, we've already been doing it, just be
Okay.
permanently doing it.
Okay.
Ryan, I'm sorry to tag you in again, but from your experience in working with communities similar to us, do you have any inkling on the DEP's process and how long they generally take to issue comments back to communities like the situation we'd be in, to go round out that process fully?
Yeah, I mean, it would be a permit submittal to change the status of Crystal Lake from an active surface water supply to, you can either go to inactive or emergency. There's just a little bit of nuance, I guess, between those two, but, I would expect that you could get through that process with DEP in, 6 to 9 months or something like that. But I think implementation-wise, like you're saying, you could essentially do this tomorrow, and it's just settling what Crystal Lake, what the food plant facility state is going to be, and where you need to leave it so that it can be used in an emergency to a degree that DEP would approve. So, they're going to want to see, okay, here's where we would connect to this water supply, here's where we would put a treatment skid if we had to, just so that they just want to see that you're not leaving the site in a state that you couldn't use it for a water supply if you had to. But, certainly less than a year, you could get through that process.
Just an ask, Town Administrator TKC. So this seems like a perfect conversation to have with our delegation. I don't know if you met with them yet on environmental DEP issues, but as a former researcher for the Environment Committee, we'll echo what you said. Going up to Lake Quabbin is amazing, and seeing the facility up there. So I would love to hear from them what they're hearing. DEP usually has a municipal person, but Jason or Kate or Donald should be able to meet with you, and I'd love to have that conversation. It sounds like you will come back to us with some after April 26th, some updates.
Yep.
Including what this looks like for town employees, right? Because that's going to be a shift, and so that's part of our consideration, right? We have people that work for the water department, so what does it look like?
I can say to you pretty concretely now, so in the event that we weren't manufacturing water, the other things that we could be doing that affect your use and enjoyment of potable water wherever it comes from are almost infinite. So we have plenty of things that our folks can be doing, will be doing in that event. So, barring major financial disaster, we wouldn't recommend getting rid of anyone or, some people would be restructured, I'm sure,
Yeah.
but.
Yeah, so I think having numbers behind or what they're gonna do, what that restructuring looks like. I don't think we just like, that it's a big change, and so I think we'd want to talk about that too in the options as we get more in depth. So I don't think we need to take a vote today. I think this was a good conversation to continue that started in 2020 and keeps on continuing. And then did you have something else to add, Councilor Butler?
Well, I think, and again, it's not Sophie's choice here. It's not like we're not presenting, there's clearly the two options, there's really only one. And then, I guess my question here is I feel like there's this third option of why are we doing anything about this until, we're not going to turn off it until the state mandates we have to, right?
Agreed, yeah.
You're one test away.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I'm saying we're one test away and we shut it off, but then then we just have the added cost.
Yeah.
I'm more saying like you budgeted out like 26 through, I'm saying like, let's assume that we continue to pass, even with the 4s or whatever it is. Let's just say we pass. Or the state comes out in 26 and gives us, instead of the 5 years that the feds were giving us, gives us 3. Still doesn't mean, I don't see that us doing anything more with MWRA until 29 or 30.
Agreed, yeah. I think it just comes
So it's
down
like,
to...
I'm saying the option 3 is do nothing. Like,
Of course.
and like, I think the work you did is great. It's great that you laid it out.
Yep.
And by the way, you clearly, you presented it in a way where like, I guess we're not building a new water treatment facility.
And I think that
Or we have too much money.
the do nothing is basically what we're saying, right? So we're doing the like status quo, come back to us when there's kind of an update. But this was super helpful.
And we can explore it, obviously. We'll be exploring it with the DEP to talk to them about what that time frame is and, what we need to have for lead time when that decision has to be made so that you're making it when you need to, not, obviously, if we were going to be asked to go and keep the water supply, obviously this was critical for us to move forward in a different direction to be able to hit those compliance deadlines. So that's, this is very helpful for all of us.
I also don't know, which town were you talking about that reports water through us?
Linfield. Linfield Center Water District.
Do we charge for that?
Oh yeah.
They so how long ago was that?
Do we set those?
I thought you were on the council.
I don't think he's taken that vote yet.
Okay.
So we were talking about that project how long ago, and they just started flowing MWRA water this past September.
Okay.
It took them 2 or 3 years to get through everything they needed to.
Great. Thanks. I think I'm good.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, I think this was really helpful. And as we start the next year's budget process, when you're kind of giving your capital planning, I think it was good to have this of like, that's not what, I don't think that's where we're headed right now. We're kind of status quo.
Yeah, so I would imagine when we leave, we are one test away from probably coming back and saying we're here. If not, we will prep a budget and estimate for design work.
For decommissioning.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Not building a tree.
I was like, Joe, I think we have to have a whole conversation again. Sorry.
Well, I think it's decommissioning, but it's also, what did he say? It's inactive versus emergency versus whatever
I think they were
those options are. Are they pretty much the same?
Not really. I mean, the emergency, they were pretty adamant, I think, about the emergency. I mean, we could probably push to do an inactive, but I don't know if that's something that would fly. At least my take from the meetings was they
I just wasn't
They want to
sure.
see an emergency supply.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, an emergency supply is more than an inactive.
Yeah. Inactive is, you do what you want with it. The emergency supply, they want to have the ability to get, spot pond's an example, like that's not active, but they can use it when they need to, so they set this up.
Okay.
So they have redundancy, contingency plans.
Councilor
So
Fox?
in an emergency, we're gonna poison people.
No, ideally they would have
Emergency, we
some
will
new
call-
technology.
Could you get to that type of
I don't
emergency?
exaggerate, but I'm
No,
just saying,
yeah.
like, 1 minute they tell them I can't drink the water, but they're going in an emergency, it's okay.
Well, they would have
bring in
a
treatment.
packaged treatment plant coming.
Yeah.
You know, they would have they have they wheel up a treatment plant. That's how.
More
Treat the
powerful
water.
treatment plant.
Yeah.
Realistically, it's
Think
if
like when
they're
the-
wheeling it up, it's probably not more powerful, but you're able to get water.
Okay.
That's how I would term
And
it.
fire suppression would be
Poisonous.
Yeah.
Councilor Fox?
So on the emergency thing, I remember probably 15 years ago, MWRA had a problem. We had a boil water notice for
Yep.
MWRA.
Yep.
Under those circumstances, is that an emergency where if our water was treated, we could turn off MWRA and have our own? Or is it
That was
beyond
acute,
that?
So that was an acute issue that they were able to, repair. There was,
Yeah.
a couple of days that it was, right? So things have changed in Wakefield since then. So we were running the plant, and I don't want to, you folks were all here, so, but we were running the plant, keeping water going to the town.
Yeah.
But we also added a new connection that we didn't have, so that's a change. And all that work that you saw going on in Stoneham, that's all the redundancy, so that's not a problem for them anymore. So
Okay.
they have the ability to switch pipes and do that. So there's been a lot of other things that have happened since then.
That plant is designed the way that it is now, and ultimately ideal. There's no outside influence circumstances. Running 100% of its power, 24 hours, can do 3 million gallons a day. There are times throughout the year where we exceed that across the board. And it's a series of sprints. It's not, 2,083 gallons a minute, 24 hours. It's 7,000 gallons a minute from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. because everybody's having breakfast.
Yeah.
And then it's the lull period, and then it picks back up again. So that's probably not feasible to say that at this point in time.
I just didn't know if we could just, if something like that scenario, which is obviously worst case scenario, happened, that you could run down and just flip on,
So
Crystal
that
Lake
would-
could have that run again.
That would be one of the things why the DEP takes the position that they do, is to have that in place. So it would probably either be the National Guard or the FWRA that would come in and utilize that, or some third-party private company. But to have that there, knowing that they could do that,
Yep.
and then that would be something that I would imagine would be included in their emergency response planning, and then we would just be part of that activation chain. If something like that happened and they needed to be there, Wakefield would have it in place, and we would welcome them.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much. So we'll hear back from you likely after April.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
What's that? Dennis, I think, is up next. And then
I think we have an update, item 6A2, waste management.
thank you.
That's you. Oh, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
I'm just going to be moral support on this one. You've heard my voice enough.
Good night. We're done. No, so Dennis Fazio, Forestry and Park Supervisor, just here to talk about, was a discussion last year about some signage at the parks. We have, unfortunately, and I will start off by saying that I am a dog owner, lover. I think dogs are the greatest things in the planet. But we have a huge problem with poor dog management at the fields. So there's a...
Dennis, the chairman has put this on the January agenda.
Oh, okay.
And so I didn't know you were going to come tonight.
Yeah, sorry. I
Yeah.
thought this was, so this was for our January meeting, if you can come back, Dennis.
Absolutely.
So we wanted to talk about the garbage settlement so this was you. This was trash about the dog parks.
A different type of trash.
Yeah, so that's what, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
We'd love to see you again in January
Definitely.
when we
Yeah.
have discussed more,
Yep.
because it is becoming a little bit of a crisis and we need to talk about it.
Yeah, it's going to be a big issue.
So can you
So-
come back at our
Absolutely.
January 12th meeting?
Yes.
And I think Councilor Carney and you will be in discussion and have been in discussion.
Yeah.
And sorry, we needed it to label this better. What we wanted to hear about was getting some of our money back.
Sure. Without going too far in, we are very close to being at the end of this journey that was thrust upon us. And I would hope sometime before the next, I will come and join Dennis at the next meeting for setting them up for today. I can deliver you the full recap and lay everything out on the table. Just waiting to dot a couple I's, cross a couple T's, and put the last piece of the puzzle to bed, but I'm expecting that to be within the next week, 10 days at the max. So
But the good news highlight.
I'm an optimist,
Yes.
and my frown is still the right side up. So
Yeah.
we'll just leave it at that for now.
I heard we're recouping most of all of our money, so.
I think we're going to come out in pretty good shape.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so
We got the settlement agreement from Yale today to review, and so Joe and I will review that and then send it back.
perfect. So that was the update. I'm so sorry. But we'll see you again in January.
Perfect. Question, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Where's the settlement coming from? Insurance? Where's the money coming from?
No, so really what's been going on is a negotiation between cost borne to Wakefield to cover the period of the strike,
Okay.
and versus what our contractual obligations were.
Okay.
So we've been going back and forth, with Republic on that. And we're at a point now where we've reached the end of where we're probably going to land. We just need a couple of signatures, and then again, probably by the next meeting, I'll be back and I can lay the whole thing out. I just don't want to speak of anything that hasn't been, inked yet.
But I guess where's the money coming from to reimburse us?
Oh, it would be like a holdback.
Republic is paying us.
Pardon?
Yeah, Republic.
The company.
The company.
Not our insurance. The
They're paying?
company's paying
Wow.
us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know if their insurance is covering it,
Right.
but they're, yeah.
Well, they saved a bunch of money not paying their guys.
I'm glad
Sure
I'm
they had
not
to pay retroactive when the strike ends, though.
Okay, thank you so much. I apologize for the miscommunication. We will see you at our January 12th meeting. Great. Okay,
That's okay.
so sorry.
Thank you, Dennis.
Item
I wanted to say hi.
A3.
Pins and needles for a month about it already.
I'm sure
It
Dennis
is
would talk to you
it is a
anytime you want.
holdover from last session before some of you joined the board. So we will continue the conversation in 2026. Item A3, Oak Green, Greenwood intersection with an update.
We do have an update. So just quick little background, folks. You may remember I was in front of you back in September requesting to do a temporary deployment of our proposed intersection realignment. We deployed that in early October after you folks gave us the green light. And we started receiving some feedback fairly early on and had a follow-up meeting at the TAC a couple of weeks after deployment. Taking some of that into account, we looked at softening a couple of radiuses based on the feedback that we received, and we also were asked to add a stop sign back in at the Oak and Green intersection. One of those was removed. We redeployed those, and basically that's been up since then. We removed it last Monday. Obviously, we received some comments. I think when we first deployed, we heard a lot of positive feedback. We had a little bit of a lull prior to that TAC meeting, and we received a lot of comments. I think most of the council was CC'd on the comments that were coming to the Traffic Advisory Committee, as well as to myself. Since then, for the most part, we haven't heard a lot. We had a follow-up meeting with the TAC on Friday to talk about if we wanted to make any other modifications. Aside from a relocation of a crosswalk, the TAC is still supportive of moving forward with the actual construction bidding and making all this happen next year. So I'm here to answer any questions or discuss this further.
Councilor Carney.
Yeah, I monitored the the meeting. I wasn't able to talk. And I really had not much to say, but I'm guessing about 3 weeks ago we get inundated with emails.
Yes.
Negative emails.
Yeah, there were a lot.
Yeah. And then we had the meeting, and I monitored the meeting and listened to it, and that was all positive.
I thought so too. Yeah.
So I guess the question I have is, some of the criticism was that people don't think there's a lot of accidents there. That they said,
right.
Why are we doing anything if there's no accidents there? So I'm trying to balance that in my mind, Bill.
Sure. So this is something that was highlighted. There's a couple of different times that this was highlighted. So well prior to myself being there, the TAC was actually looking at this and had some sketches that were done by our traffic consultant, VHP. And then during the bike and ped plan, this was identified through, we did the surveys and all that different stuff. And this was highlighted as an area that they would recommend some improvements for. Pedestrian mobility was one of the big ones there. So obviously we don't have any bike accommodations being proposed. We just don't have the room. A lot of the negative comments that we heard was about the tightness of the, of the deployment, and that it looked like it was too narrow. Honestly, the sections of Oak Street are much narrower than what we were proposing through this intersection. So the other point would be, on the flex posts themselves, we haven't had any replacement needs. So the people aren't bobbing into these things. I mean, that's usually what we would see if we'd want to really kind of do a wholesale redesign. But we did hear people say it was a little bit tight on a couple of those intersection curves, so we softened those curves up and, deployed that, and, a lot of the comments seemed to calm back down. For the last traffic advisory committee that you were on, we had 2 thumbs up, 2 thumbs down. So, I mean, I wouldn't say that it's, a full, support with the public for sure. I mean, you folks all got all of that, that email, the emails back in October. So, I will tell you that we did receive a bunch of calls in other emails when we first deployed that were, I would say, 75 to 80% positive. And then once folks saw that out there, I don't think that they're necessarily going to be sending in emails because, they see the deployment. So, it's, I think, I wouldn't say that it's a full, it's definitely that the positives outweigh the negative, folks, in the overall, feedback that we've received. I wouldn't say that necessarily, but I would say it's probably in a 50-50 range, maybe a little bit leaning towards the positive.
The one thing that stuck out to me, and quite frankly, what you've done down in intersection of Lowell and Salem Street was excellent, and the intersection of New Salem and Salem. I think it makes traffic much safer. People, you have to stop and look and watch for oncoming traffic. So I love the concept. The one stop sign that I thought was weird is when you're coming down Green Street, taking a right onto Oak Street to go to Main Street. Yeah. There was a stop sign there.
Yeah, sight distance.
Why is that there?
Sight distance. It was for sight distance. So the folks that are coming, you're saying that, so if you take a right onto Oak from Green, and then you get to the stop sign at the new Greenwood intersection, right? Is that what you're talking about? Well, so looking here to the right-hand side of the plan? So I have Oaks.
I'm coming out of Green Street, and I'm taking the corner to Oak. It's a pretty smooth corner going up to Oak Street. Yep. You're not blinded or anything, and then there's a stop sign there.
So that was because of the sight distance. So if you're stopped on Green, you don't have a good sight distance for folks that are further down on Oak. That's why that was added back in. Okay. So that was I would say the biggest feedback that we received is that stop sign needed to go back.
It needed
to go back. Yeah, that was probably all of the constructive criticism saying, hey, here's what we would suggest you to change. Okay. That was by far the highest. So that was what was discussed at the TAC back in the middle of October. To add that back in, we redeployed, added some flags to let folks know that we added it back in, and then we got a lot of positive comments on it. So, there was some thought process behind it.
Thank you.
Yep.
So, Bill, where was that stop sign located again?
So to the bottom left-hand corner, so that's Green Street coming into the corner. Yeah, and so where that new crosswalk is, the stop sign's right there.
So you put that back?
Yeah, that got put back.
It's really the row of hedges there
that
creates a visual impairment, so it's easy to stop you and then.
Yeah, we tried to see if we could push further into the intersection to improve the sight distance, and we really couldn't make that happen. Mm-hmm. So it did make sense from our perspective.
Right.
So I just wanted to use this opportunity just to do a little updating for people watching. Sure. Because as the liaison to traffic advisory for a couple of years, those Friday 8 a.m. meetings.
Yes.
But just want to explain that process a little bit. So Chief Scory's there.
Yep.
Lieutenant Anderson is there.
Yep.
Chief Purcell, previously Chief Sullivan, is all there.
Yep.
And so they ask their questions about public safety.
Of course.
So when we get emails asking about, we're worried about a fire truck
Yes.
doing the intersection.
Sure.
It's already been discussed at traffic advisory.
It definitely was. Yeah, actually, Chief Purcell got on to the, let's see, the one in the middle of October, and talked about it and said that they did some trial runs through. They had no issues with it, so they were fine. From his standpoint, he didn't see an issue with any of the redesign. So.
Great.
Yep.
And then the flex poles have come down because of winter?
Winter, yep. So we had the potential for the snow on Tuesday. So even though the forecast kind of changed as we got into middle of Monday, which is always a good thing, I guess, for us. I'm sure Joe's happy about that.
Joe and I did that.
Yeah,
No complaints.
right. No complaints there. So, but yeah, as we talked about, we were going to keep it up until we had winter weather. This was the beginning of it. Kind of made sense just to pull it.
So they come down, and then after winter season, they go back up.
No, I would propose at this point that as long as you folks are on board, we would be designing up the final project and bidding and constructing next year.
Okay.
Again, we do have a grant. This is grant funded, so we received around $250,000 or so from Mass DOT for this project. So that has to be spent before the end of next year. So this would allow us to design, bid, and hit the ground running in the spring with curb install and all of that stuff. We did see some questions on kind of how we were going to design out the little parklet that's there. So we did receive about $25,000 in an earmark that we were looking to deploy there. So more of a pollinator garden is what it was for. So we were looking to deploy that in the green space that's being created, the little triangle green space that's being created in the between Greenwood and Oak. So that's something that we're looking to do. We have a bunch of trees that are being added to the area as well, but we'll be finalizing plant selections and all that stuff as part of it. I'd be happy to come back if you folks want to talk about the parklet, or if you want to just let me run with it, kind of what you did with Albion Street. I didn't know. I don't think I really came back with plants individually, but I'm happy to do that if you'd like. We all know I like my plants.
Councilor Butler.
Yeah, I think not to put the cart before the horse. I think we've probably been on the receiving end of probably, I'd say it's 2/3, 1/3 negative around it. And now granted, people are in favor before they see it, and then you put it up and they're like, oh my God, that's changed it so much. Mm-hmm. I do think I think, and I don't know if Lieutenant Anderson talked about this, I didn't see it in the notes, but I didn't go through the 2-hour thing. I just had it summarized for me. We just bought this system. How much worse do the rush hour traffic? Because we have the system now that can check that.
We can check, but it's such a small window. We didn't have the data in that time frame. It wasn't deployed long enough to determine. Are you looking for speed? Really? I mean, I can tell you residents
from Greenwood Ave, from Oak Street, from that intersection to Main, and then going in the other direction. It's Oak Street that I think is historically the backup.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
And I think I've only taken it once in the morning, so I don't have great insight into it, and it was never great beforehand. I think that's, I guess, and then the other issue that has come up is that why are we doing it at all? And I granted we've got a $250,000 grant, but the question is that it wasn't an area of big accident prone. And I'm not opposed to doing it. I do want to know if it dramatically slows down traffic.
Oh, without a doubt, it slows down traffic.
No. Not the speed of traffic.
Okay.
Flow. I'm saying, does it create a much worse experience for commuters in the evening coming north up Main Street, commuters in the morning going Oak Street to Main to Greenwood to cross the, I think before we, set our minds on this, since we have some data on it, let's see how bad it's gotten, or if you have better information around it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking how I could present it to you based on the software. I don't think it can get to that granular of a level. I mean, what it gives me is volumes and speeds on sections of road. That's not necessarily going to change. The folks are still in the same area. They're still taking that left-hand turn where they're going to take the left-hand turn instead of skirting around folks. The software is not going to really give me that information. Yeah, nothing, I can't come up with anything quantitatively that would.
I thought the stuff on, when we did North Ave, we got the average speed rating, and we could do it at different time slots.
We can, but again, so it looks at a full segment of road. It's looking at 1,000-foot sections of road. It's not looking at I can't just like.
Oh yeah, I want a 1,000-foot section. Let's do Oak Street from that corner to Main Street in the morning, or Oak Street from wherever that is, from the Oak and Green section. Jesus, trying to figure out west? No, east.
Yeah. It'll give you slow down speed. Volume-wise, it's not going to change. I wouldn't expect.
Yeah, and I'm not concerned about volume. I don't think we're increasing the number of people who commute. It's more just, is it much more painful? And again, people who commute that way every day might be able to tell us, but I think that's my big concern is, are we doing this change? Again, you talked about safety. It's the same reason why people talk about safety, and they talk about whether or not the fire trucks will be able to get through when they want it to go their way in terms of an argument. It's not like, it's oftentimes not a real argument. It's like saying well, it's much more safe. Yeah, it wasn't dangerous before.
Councillor Chines.
I'm going to disagree with that for a little bit. So just bringing this back a little bit in terms of where this came up. We weren't looking for a project to spend a grant on. We specifically put in a grant request for this project because this was perceived as a dangerous intersection by individuals in town. Perceived. Individuals in town as well as the abutters. I think that first of all, I think you guys have done a really good job of trying to take the feedback that was received, and obviously it's all over the map. You've got pros and cons. I think you've done a really good job of making adjustments based on that feedback. I think this represents an incredibly, incredibly strong improvement over where we were. This has always been a hard intersection to navigate. It is an intersection where, anytime you have that massive expanse of pavement, it creates confusion around who has the right of way. It's difficult for people to, there are difficult sight lines. It's, even with the flex posts in place, because you see all the pavement, I think it's been a challenge to use as a driver. I think this will create a substantial amount of improvement in terms of clarity on who has the right of way when. I think it improves sight lines significantly. And it also reduces, I think, the pedestrian crossings in a way that's really important. We know from, decades and decades of traffic research that this is like a best practice design. And so what I wouldn't want to do is sort of go back and rethink a plan that was already, kind of exceptionally well planned and exceptionally well researched and thought. I think you've taken the feedback that you've gotten, you've made some improvements, and I think it makes sense to move ahead with it.
Councillor Carney?
Yeah, I just want to point out that absent Nahad Street, that's going to be affected by all the new condominiums down there and apartments, Oak Street's the worst street in town. To navigate it and anything that happens there, remember that if something happens around J.J. Rounds, the only way to get to Greenwood is through Oak Street. So, the whole community is cut off from that area. And anything, and I bring up my commuting experience to Worcester, anything you do anywhere affects something somewhere else. When all of a sudden there's an accident on 128, it affects, I get taken by Waze, I get taken almost to Melrose around that way, because all the streets were backed up. So we have to be, thinking about that, the fact that today, traffic engineering has little validity in the sense that anything changes and people are going to follow Waze or any other, GPS system, and it takes you the shortest route. And so all of a sudden the traffic just changes before your eyes. And so I think that intersection had to be one of the worst in the town. I honestly felt a lot of people complained about the intersection of Pleasant Street ahead of time. It was the worst thing in the world. I take that all the time, and I never have a problem getting through that intersection. So it's not backed up like people thought it was going to be. Oh my gosh! Except when there's an accident on 128, people come over the hill and travel down that way. So I think it's an improvement, and I support it wholeheartedly.
Councilor Chrisley.
So Bill, I think you've done a great job with the public feedback and with responding to all the different the different pros and cons, issues you've got going. I do think both from a driving perspective and for people who are going to be on this secondary road on a bicycle, I think the traffic calming thing actually is kind of a bicycle accommodation, particularly this coming off behind the Greenwood School and making that sharper right-hand turn, because that used to be a big, wide, open stretch of asphalt. So I think that's an improvement. Have you considered painting the bike boxes at a couple of these intersection approaches?
We didn't do the bike accommodations on the road because the remainder of Oak Street can't accommodate a bike, honestly. That's why we didn't include it. I mean, as you're going from Main Street towards Main Street, it has, some room. But realistically, going further down Oak Street, the road's about 26 feet wide. So
I'm thinking of green, too.
That's awfully tight.
Green's another coming at that approach from the lower left corner there.
Yep.
Could you do it at those intersection approaches?
Yeah, I didn't look at green, honestly. Yeah, because I wasn't really, I'm kind of just teeing up that intersection. So I was kind of looking at Oak as I was thinking about it, right? So it doesn't really have an ability to provide a destination for a bicyclist. But that's my opinion. I mean, obviously, I take all the feedback. So.
Green Street's a easier route right now with some of the pavement quality on Main Street. So,
Folks go up that hill. They do. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I can, but hey.
But I'm thinking they're also coming down to that approach. I think with the other, it would be a benefit as the green segues into Oak, particularly if they're getting over to the Greenwood Ave area and the school. I think on those intersection approaches, that would be a good consideration.
Okay. I mean, we can make that accommodation if that's what folks want. So you're asking for a bike box at each of the stop signs? Is that what you're asking for?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's a bike box?
It's a green rectangle in advance of the stop line. It just indicates where the bicyclist should stop for a proper sight line.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Councilor Fox?
So, like a lot of you, I got a lot of negative feedback, and I had 2 positive ones that came in Sunday night.
There you go.
So, 2 out of I lost track.
Was that, and it wasn't because we took it down, right?
No, I did hear someone say how great it was that it came down,
No, it was
but knowing it was for snow and not for you changing your mind.
Right.
So that was a positive, I guess, in a way.
No,
but
we'll take all the positives.
It was the joy that it was gone.
Yeah.
Glass half full.
We're always glass full here in Public Works.
That's gotta look at it.
That's it.
So I drove through at nighttime to really test it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was before the other stop sign came in. And I almost got in a head-on collision coming down Oak from someone coming from the other part of Oak.
Okay.
That didn't realize where to turn.
Mm-hmm.
And Councilor Carney mentioned the Pleasant Street stop sign, and I drive that stretch Salem Street multiple times a day, every day on the way to work.
Mm-hmm. Same.
And people come, they stop at the first stop sign, they get through a Pleasant,
Mm-hmm.
and they slam on the brakes where the left turn is onto Vernon.
Okay.
And then, there's a stop sign there.
Mm-hmm.
Then they barrel through the stop sign and take the right at Salem Street. So I'm wondering if that stop sign in Oak Street will become the same kind of way where I had a stop sign.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pick up speed, and I'm going to just skip that next one and just keep going.
We received good feedback when we installed it back, so I would say that it was working well. But I mean, again, that's anecdotal. But
Yeah.
I'm going off of what I received for comments, and we definitely did receive some good feedback about adding that in. A lot of folks said that made a huge difference. I think a lot of the piece too. One of the things that we kept bringing up at the TAC, that if anybody watched it, was that again, this is a temporary deployment. It's not perfect. The sight lines aren't perfect. Everything's going to be a little bit different. We're doing the best we can with, flex posts. That's what we're trying to do, right? Also site, visibility there. There was a request to move a street light, which we're looking to accommodate with Gas and Light, who's going to work with us on that. So, all the feedback that we received, we've made a 4 or 5 tweaks to this, I think, that get us to a point that, I'm pretty comfortable with it. I think I kind of like this process with the way we've handled it. Because we're able to deploy it temporarily and make some changes. Just deploying it straight on, I would have had some reservations. I'm pretty happy with how it operated. If I was seeing these flex posts get knocked over and we had to go replace them all the time, and we were reported that there weren't any, to me that tells me that it's working, right? I would imagine that, the discussions about the tight curbs and all of that. It's going to be a lot more defined. You're going to have your fog lines. It's going to be a lot easier to drive through and understand where you need to be, I think. And plus, you have that serpentine route that slows everybody down too. That was a big comment from the abutters early on to add that in. So again, we've tried to accommodate as many comments as we can, and still have this thing operate. So.
One last one.
Councilor Butler.
You mentioned smoothing. Like, where did you smooth? Like, where did?
So if you look on the slide, so at the Greenwood intersection at Oak, you can see the little red. It's kind of tough to see, but there's a red dotted line. That's one of the smooth curves.
Oh, okay.
And we did the same thing at Green and Oak as well.
Oh, okay.
So both of those are where those were the two that we heard the most about.
That was almost too sharp a turn.
A little bit too sharp of a turn.
Yeah.
Opens the angles a little bit easier to do. I think it makes a lot of sense, honestly, for the Greenwood Ave, because you have that left-right situation. But we didn't have any complaints from the buses. Obviously, fire could get through as well. But a few folks said that it made more sense to soften those up, and it'll still operate as intended. So we were good with that.
And are we keen on? And no offense, are we keen on pollinator gardens being right by the sidewalk? It feels like a recipe for a bunch of kids getting stung.
Well, we have pollinators in town.
Okay.
So
I just was like, if we're creating
some of the pollinators will be kind of exactly what we did on Albion, right? So we have those flowers and plants all support the same. We'll have a couple of different ones besides it.
Floral Way. I'm trying to think.
Floral Way, we did some, right? That's all. Well, we did that whole hill of wild flowers.
A, I don't know where Floral Way is, and B, I couldn't tell you.
By the lake and Church Street.
Isn't down by Connolly too? Didn't a pollinator garden go down there too?
Yep.
I would envision this one to look more like the intersection of North Ave and Albion at Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, okay.
Probably the Floral Way. Well, touch of color. We'll let Bill do his thing, but adjacent to the road, you could have your salt tolerant plants.
I was going to say we have our plants that we like because they come back and we know they will. So they've worked pretty well for me in the past. So.
This is great. I think the process was great. I was just thinking the last time I got a bunch of emails was the Pleasant Street stop signs.
Okay.
And we got so many before those were put up, and then I got 0 once we put them up. Okay. And I have yet to hear people, and I know the neighbors feel like it's safer and less accidents. They don't hear cars screeching all hours of the night. So I think this process really worked. I was wondering, when we started, can we use our signs to put up like new configuration, trying to warn people? I don't think we did that this time. I didn't see them.
We had variable message boards up to let folks know. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I didn't see them.
I know we had it in one direction for sure. I'm assuming we would do them in both. I don't.
It's a busy, the fall being election time. We tend to pull them for that.
Yeah.
But before any changes happen here,
we had it.
We can accommodate that.
Yeah, I just think that's a good process, just to kind of let people know. And I missed it. As this is my neighborhood. So, were you saying something about the screeching, Doug?
Oh, no. Like no, please. There's no greater proponent of that Pleasant Street stop sign than me. It has made my commute much, much easier. So
same.
No, I think this. This is again. It's been 60-40, let's say, in terms of negative to positive. to be fair, and I don't know. I mean, which is probably lower than I expected it to be. I expected, more people to be coming out with torches and pitchforks. I think it has always seemed like a tough intersection.
Yeah.
And it always is like, and I get it being perceived. What's been odd to me is that it didn't seem to be that accident prone. And again, the abutters are the people who wanted this.
Yep.
And they're the ones who have to live with the extra traffic if it's there.
Yeah, for them, they like, it's easier for them to get out of their driveways. That's what we're hearing, obviously. And, keep in mind, at the original design, we had multiple options that we started with. We had a roundabout at one point, so, they were pretty adamant and definitely involved. I want to say we had 5 public information sessions out there, or neighborhood meetings that we do. We like to do those, as we're starting to deploy stuff and construct stuff, in design. So.
Do I have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, move to authorize the Department of Public Works to continue with design, bidding, and ultimately construction for the Green Street, Greenwood Street, Oak Street intersection as presented in the revised layout.
Second.
Great. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed? 6-1, thank you.
Okay. And did we decide on the bike boxes? That's in or out? As presented, it wasn't, so I'm just making sure we're on the same page.
So I feel like that's paint, that's easy.
Mm-hmm.
My personal opinion would be, I know you wanted to look at, some of the configuration of Green Street as well. So, that's something where I'd ask you to
defer to us,
to kind of defer to you on sort of what makes sense, at least from my perspective, but that's one of 7.
What was the question?
The bike boxes.
What is it?
I think we defer to your expertise on that.
Okay.
Like the pollinator / flowers / garden, with
good.
the mindful of don't pick things that have a lot of bees, because we don't want people to get stuck.
Aren't they the pollinators?
But
some bees.
Some bees.
Some bees.
Hummingbirds.
Hummingbirds are good too.
But I think we trust you on that.
Okay. Sounds good, folks.
Okay.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Item B, Housing Trust, 2025 Quarterly Report.
I believe Marissa should be joining us.
Yeah. Yep, Marissa, the town planner, is coming right now.
Thank you.
Hi, Marissa, you're on mute.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. I'll preface this by saying this is my first time presenting the HARPA report before you guys, so bear with me. I hope I present all of the data in a way that is palatable, and if you have any questions, please just feel free to ask me. But at our Affordable Housing Trust meeting back in November, we approved the Q3 ARPA report, which supports our RAP program. That's the Wakefield Rental Assistance Program. Q3 ended October 30th. And we have, of the $200,000 that were allocated for this program, we have spent $115,712. So there's $84,200 as of October 30th, there was $84,288 remaining for the program that we have to spend by December of next year, 2026. But I have had a huge influx of applications in about the past 6 weeks. I think a lot of people are anticipating January 1st move-in dates. So they're coming down to us with applications to help get everything set up and squared away for move-ins in the new year.
That's great.
Most of the, it's been great. The program has been wildly successful. Most of the award funding in Q3 went toward security deposits and first month's rent payments. We have a lot of people that are moving into the basin at 200 Quanapawit Parkway, and a few of those people had housing choice vouchers. A lot of people were moving into the designated affordable units. For the first time, I saw a couple of people who had actually maxed out on the funds awarded to them, and they ended up having to pay a little bit more. Because, sometimes a unit that is 80% affordable isn't still really affordable when you compare it to the area median income. But anything helps for sure. And in these last few weeks, I have had, the majority of the applicants have had housing choice vouchers. A few of them are moving also into the basin, and then there are a couple of people who are moving into WHA properties as well. So
thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councilor Butler?
Sure. Just in looking at it, it looked like, I know, like a huge number of the expenditures, and maybe I saw a couple of credits back as well, were for, Audubon Road, the Colonial Point, and then for Tarrant Lane. So I haven't really seen, but that was probably just as of 9:30. Are there certain units that are sort of talking to their people about this as they come and apply? Or do you think how do you think, I was just surprised about the number of Colonial Point, and maybe it's just there are so many apartments there that's where you're going to hit it.
Yeah, we did have a huge number of people moving into Colonial Point. I do know that the leasing office is well aware of our program. We are in contact with, I think, Carrie Tinowitz is the manager at Colonial Point. So she knows the ins and outs of the programs, and so there were people that did come to us saying that they had spoken to Carrie and were referred by her directly to the program. Erin Kokinda and I toured the basin back in maybe mid-September, and we spoke to the leasing office there, told them about our RAP program as well, forwarded them some applications. So I know that we have had a couple of referrals come directly from the basin as well. And then in these last few weeks, Wakefield Housing Authority has referred people directly to us as well. And then there are a couple of people came over from Wakefield Gas and Light. And then word of mouth has been hugely successful as well. Sometimes there were a couple of instances in Q3 where people didn't end up being eligible for the program. A few people thought that these funds are used just for ongoing month-to-month rental payments, when the basis of the program is to provide for transitional assistance. If you are moving into Wakefield, or if you already live in Wakefield and are moving into another housing unit, we help with those transitional costs. Sometimes that detail slips by people when they fill out the application, so we've had to turn down people for that reason only. We've never had to turn down anybody because they weren't eligible based on income.
Any other questions, comments? And just to let everyone know, this is good things that we voted on to do with ARPA funding. This was creating the trust was one of them. And at our next meeting, hopefully next meeting, at a January meeting, Dee's going to do the presentation that Steve had kind of done quarterly to talk about ARPA and everything that we're doing. And I specifically asked that we kind of look at like the numbers of people we've helped. And this is a great example. So, we gave X amount of money. We kind of talked about that, but I think the numbers are just going to be really important of constituents that we've helped in the town. So just same page, but just want to tell everyone that, so some of the other ARPA things, including renovations to the senior center and how many people are accessing that, and some of the other things that we did with ARPA. So we'll get updates on that in January. And this report is really helpful for that. So thank you, Marissa.
Of course.
Okay, and I think we have to vote on it, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Move to accept the Housing Trust 2025 quarterly report for the quarter ending September 30, 2025.
Seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye, 7-0. Thank you. And Sherry, that'll be sent around for us to sign?
Yes, correct.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item C, licenses.
So, Madam Chair, I believe last year Mr. Mullen told us we can do these all as one slate. So I will make a motion to approve the 2026 retail license renewals as detailed in our packet, covering common victualler licenses, of which there are a lot, entertainment licenses, liquor licenses, lodging house licenses, fortune teller license, automated device licenses, Class 1 licenses, and Class 2 licenses.
No hotels?
They're under hotels and lodging house licenses.
In holders too.
And in holders.
And can I get a second? Great, seconded. Any discussion? Counselor Chrisley?
I feel like I have to ask what a fortune teller license is.
Exactly as it sounds.
Probably just what it sounds like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We used to have two in town.
No, we only have
We
one.
only have one.
There's one right downtown on Main Street.
Yeah, there used to be two, though. I'm forgetting where the second one was, but
I'm sending it to you.
yeah. They didn't get their notice, so. Counselor Fox, did you have a question?
I did. If this is voted for as the lot, there's no individual, we don't bring anybody in for any of these things, right? We just vote for it and that's it.
Renewals, we just vote
Renewals
for.
is vote for, okay.
Yep, and they have all done their paperwork with Sherry, correct, Sherry?
Yes.
They don't usually make the list unless they've done everything. So Sherry will go after the few stragglers that they're all, and we'll vote on those in a future meeting. But all of these have gotten in their paperwork, and it's just renewal. Was that a hand, Counselor Butler?
I think I'm going to vote yes here. I do think I would like to know if we have people who've been in violation of things to actually maybe have them be, if they are either flagged or something like that they are not in the larger group that we recommend. Again, it's fine for this year to do it this way, but thinking about it in the future, if we have somebody who either has the liquor license or and frankly some of the probably these our new our beer and wine and grocery store licenses, they probably should come before us.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
We discussed that. I think you brought it up once.
Yeah, I know.
And Sherry sent out the rules and regulations, and you have to go through a process.
I know, but you know that
I just wanna-
we have a number of liquor stores that are problematic in town.
We do?
Well, they're not problematic. They're just serving that you would like them to steer their clientele in a different direction. But we don't need
So
to have this.
I don't think there's any in violation, right? That usually comes in front of us. We haven't had one of those in a while. When I first started, we had a couple of establishments that had to come before us because they were in violation.
Yeah, because they sold cigarettes to kids. I'm talking about stop serving
No,
the drunks.
We had two of those.
Okay.
Yeah. But you have mentioned us having conversations with the people that we've given the, what's it called?
The beer wine
The beer
licenses,
wine
yeah.
licenses. And I think that's something that we can always invite them, we can always invite them in to come in front of us. So we can do that and have a conversation.
Has that situation changed?
No, they both sell beer now. So
Okay, so
they
they're both
actually are.
open.
They both are open and selling.
Okay.
I did do the quick drive-by.
You do the survey of all the liquor stores?
I got my frequent flyer card punched. I was like 10 more, and so. No, I think I'm fine.
Okay, so we have a motion and.
Just one follow-up question
Yeah,
along
sorry.
those lines. Let's say there's a liquor store in town not following the state deposit return law. That's something we would enforce. That's something the state enforces. That's not part of this license, right?
The state deposit?
Yeah, so when you buy a can or a bottle of mass, you have to pay the nickel deposit.
Yeah.
And as a seller of those items, you're supposed to accept them back and give the nickel back for the purchase. If there were some establishments in town not doing that, that's not something we are responsible for. That's
Department of Environmental Protection.
Yep. Okay. Because you know of one that does not like to do that, so.
Yeah, can you look into that?
They're very adamant about it.
Says it's the DEP. I don't know. I don't think that falls under our.
I didn't.
It
definitely doesn't fall.
It doesn't. Yeah, but I think
They have
that's
information on their website about the requirements that they have to take back deposit containers during certain business hours.
Okay.
That's even a grocery store, I mean, not
Right, and a
alcohol.
lot of, I can name a few in town that don't, and one in Reading that doesn't.
Really? Wow.
They say they don't have the facilities for it.
Yeah. So Councillor Fox, can I ask that you talk to Dee and talk to Erin Kakinda and give those name of those businesses,
Sure.
and then we'll update them on what the
I've got
state
one of Doug's
regulations
field trips
are.
with the bag, and
Yeah,
you'll see if I can do it. I'll bring my little car to get stamped.
Doug will go with you.
And side note, I've asked Senator Donald Wong to look into why has it still been a nickel since I was basically in elementary school? Like, who do we talk to about, expanding the scope of what is returnable and booting it up to a dime so there's not so much litter around? And so he has that task.
Yeah.
That's just a personal thing. That has nothing to do with the town council. But it's driven me crazy for
No,
years.
it's every year. It's
Yeah.
a bill filed
Yep.
every session. It just hasn't passed.
Yep.
And to include plastic water bottles.
Yep.
So.
But
30, 40 years.
speaking to Councilor Fox's thing, if they're not doing that, our only way of holding them accountable is we don't necessarily we're not enforcing the bottle bill here, but we can also be, jerks about renewing their license. So I think
we
he's
could.
saying
I
that
think
that
the
is
first-
sort of the,
We have a hook,
yeah, this
But
is our hook. It's
Okay.
sort of like with the gas and light department, you only have one hook, so you periodically have to have that thread out there. So I think that's what you were saying in terms of us automatically
Yeah, this is,
approving.
if we just put the stamp on it tonight, then congratulations, you sell alcohol for another year. If we don't put the stamp on just the package stores, for example, until we made sure they're following those rules, then you can actually go to them, and they have another year to,
To be fair, if we don't vote on them tonight, don't we have a problem with them all come January 1st?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
So that's that is the problem, and that's
We would be putting them out of business as of January 1st.
You don't want to shut them all.
I mean, that would be a great incentive to start taking back the cans and bottles right away, then, wouldn't it?
I go to Reading anyway. But yes, no, I think that this is the sort of thing that, if we're doing this, we should probably have, maybe it's with D or something like that, in a few months beforehand, be like, are there any people who you'd be like, oh no, you're off this list, you got to come before us. And that's truly the threat, is like.
I don't think there's anything preventing us from having them before us. If they're not complying, of course, we're going to make sure it's a regulation. I believe it would be. But we'll make sure what the legal aspect of it is. But have them call them up and say, wait a minute, you've got to do your part. And I think it's part of the bottle bill. I haven't heard for a while, but there used to be a lot of complaints about nips. And when I travel to the restaurants downtown, I don't see what I used to see. And some of them used to dispose of the nips outside in the parking lots or what have you. But I think we could do something, talking to council and making sure we're doing it under the law.
I made note.
Okay, any other comments, questions? We had a motion, it was seconded, all in favor? Say aye, thank you. Opposed? Okay, that was unanimous, sorry.
I can be, I mean.
No, I just letting Sherry know who's
If he's gonna look
watching.
into it, then I have no problem with that.
Well, thank you.
Moving on to appointments, Permanent Building Committee.
Madam Chair, move to appoint Erin Demerjian, Mark Macchio, Phil Renzi, and Chip Tarbell to the Permanent Building Committee for a 3-year term expiring December 31, 2028.
Second with a question.
Yep.
The chairman of the building committee mentioned someone else putting the name in, and they didn't, right?
No, they
Okay,
did
that's
not.
all.
They did not. He suggested someone be a non-voting member, so I'm guessing if that person is still interested, they can submit their name. It doesn't need to be on this timeline. Sherry, nothing came in today, right?
Yeah, no, we don't have anything.
Okay, perfect.
Can I just say, I sit in on a lot of the Permanent Building Committee meetings. The 4 individuals who reapplied have made, incredibly strong contributions to the committee, particularly as we're going through a pretty complex project with the high school. So I'm glad to see that they're all interested in serving for another 3 years, and I think it serves us well to reappoint them.
Great. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye, 7-0. Thank you. Economic Development Council.
Madam Chair, move to appoint Dan Benjamin and Tanya Walker to the Economic Development Council for 3-year terms expiring on October 31, 2028.
Second.
Second, great. Any further discussion? Councilor Butler?
Yeah, I thought we were talking about potentially reducing their overall number to like
We're
make it so they
not going
could
to talk
have
about
one?
that. We
Okay.
might talk about that in January.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
We do have
Spoiler
2
alert.
vacant seats. Yeah, we do have 2 vacant seats still on the Economic Development Council. It's a great council, makes great decisions, doing amazing work throughout our town. So if you are interested, please check out our website and apply for those 2 vacant seats. And in January, we are having the council come in front of us and talk about the amazing work that they are doing and talk about the makeup of the group.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
After the chamber meet and greet, which Councilor Constance was at, we had 3 individuals come up because we talked about joining the economic development, and 3 people came forward to express interest to Erin. So
Great.
That's
that would be
great.
great to have that.
So if you
fully
could ask
functional.
Erin to maybe follow up with those individuals and have them submit an application.
Yes.
That
Yeah,
would
they
be
did.
great.
Two of them did so far, so.
Oh, great.
That's great.
They'll be
Okay.
at they'll be on the January agenda.
Great.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you. Okay, motion was seconded. All in favor, say aye. Great, 7-0. I just wanted to update on the Finance Committee membership. So the way that the Finance Committee is chosen is through our charter, and it is the moderator, the chair of the Finance Committee, and the chair of the Town Council meet and look at all the applicants. We had some great applicants. We interviewed some great candidates, and we reappointed 5 members of the Finance Committee who all came to our tri-board meeting in November. So just wanted to update that committee is now fully seated. Is that the word? It's fully seated, and they are looking forward to starting their work on next year's budget. Item E, Fire Department.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. So I do have a presentation, and Acting Chief is going to join me.
I'm sorry, Acting Chief, we don't put you earlier in the schedule. We're not used to going this late.
That's okay.
My pleasure.
So as you all know, Fire Chief Sullivan retired in November after 41 years of service to the town. So that creates a pyramiding vacancy in the fire department, the fire chief vacancy, then the deputy fire chief vacancy, a captain vacancy, and a lieutenant vacancy. So what is the process to fill civil service vacancies? So if you're not familiar with civil service, it can seem kind of confusing as to how we fill vacancies. Well, back in June of 25 and in November of 24, both the fire chief position and the deputy fire chief position went through the civil service process. So what that is there was a written exam that constitutes 40% of the final weight. An assessment center was done, which was 40% of the final weight. which was done by John Parrow Consulting and Associates. He is a known assessment center vendor in this region. And the education and experience component, which is 20%. So civil service governs the written exam, and they calculate the education and experience, but Parrow and Associates did the assessment center, and I'll talk about that in the next slide. The captain and the lieutenant were both done in April 2025. And this was a written exam. This process was completely conducted by civil service. So there was a written exam that was 56% of the weight, a situational judgment that's 24% of the weight, and then education and experience, again, is 20% of the final weight. And civil service calculates that whole process. So what is an assessment center? So an assessment center is something that's conducted by an outside consultant. It typically is an all-day event. It is comprised of assessors that are typically retired or sitting chiefs. Town managers can also act as assessors. And the candidates do not know what the exercises are going to be in advance of the day. So what is the purpose of the assessment center? To measure some job criteria: supervision, problem-solving ability, judgment and analytical ability, decision-making, time management, planning and delegation, customer service, citizen focus, as well as interpersonal, oral, written communication skills. What are some examples of some of the exercises that are done during this assessment center process? There's an in basket and an out basket, which just means what work is coming in, how are you going to prioritize it, and how are you going to get it out. An employee issue scenario, which often constitutes an employee counseling session. An employee comes with a problem, you work it through. Community issue with presentation is typically you're given a prompt. This is an issue in the community. How would you present it to a body such as this? Tactical emergency simulator is exactly that. They're given a fire scene, and they are then charged with taking the assessors through the scene all the way through to completion. A written response with a prompt, that's usually just a writing sample that they're given a question and then they need to respond to that. Many times there's a union issue with a presentation, so how the potential chief would then, or captain or lieutenant, would go through and deal with that. Again, problem solving, judgment. And then the leaderless group project, which this is an interesting one. I've seen this done a few times where they give the group, the candidates, a project, and they don't assign any roles. So they watch to see who steps into which roles, who steps into the leadership role, and how they work out as a group. So that's one I've seen a couple times, and it's really interesting. So beyond that, I did my own internal process. I did interviews, and these were done in this order intentionally. I did interviews with the deputy chief, the captain, the lieutenant, the union president, and then the fire chief was last. So what are some of the highlights of the command staff interviews? And this is all of the staff except the fire chief. So many of them talked about succession planning, an officer training program, catching up with services for the next level, setting up services of success for the next level of the leaders for the department. Training, they talked about consistency of training, and they had some really interesting training ideas. Communication, they talked about having senior staff meetings. We talked about, my 5 for Fridays. Accountability, they talked about, mentoring the younger firefighters. They also all talked about looking at overtime. Pride in their work. I asked, what they were most proud of in their career, and they talked about things like special teams assignments, and of course, saving lives. Who wouldn't be proud of that? But they all showed clear pride in their work and their community and dedication to the community. So then I did the fire chief's interview last, and I asked him many of the same questions that I had asked for the other command staff, but I also got an 8-point goal written summary from the chief, going over different goals that he has for himself and for the department. And we also discussed how he and I will work together moving forward. So we talked about emergency operational readiness and capacity, fire prevention and education in the public school system, as well as public education, a community risk reduction program, again, mentioning training and professional development, some policy and operational consistency. They've already started, I believe, Chief, looking at policies and how things are done internally, starting to talk about alternate funding mechanisms, infrastructure and technology, and then community engagement and transparency. So after all of that process is when I made my recommendations, which for Fire Chief, Deputy Chief Purcell, for the Deputy Fire Chief, Captain John Walsh, for the captain position, Lieutenant Michael Long, and then for the lieutenant position, firefighter Nolan Curran. So I just wanted to take you through how I made these decisions for promotions, and then I asked the chief to come and answer any questions that you might have about the process.
Councilor Carney?
Chief, it's been a long time.
How are you, sir?
I know your dad, your brother, and yourself, and I congratulate you, and I'm proud of you.
Appreciate that.
Councilor Chines?
So a couple of, first of all, Dee, that is probably the best overview of the civil service process that I have seen in 7 years.
I've
So
been to 27 years.
thank you
hope
for
you're happy by
that.
now.
I think it's helpful, just for us to understand, and I think the public understand that, it is a little bit of a different world than what we may be used to. I think these are solid recommendations, and Chief, I'm so excited to have you continuing your leadership in the department. Very impressed to hear about the 8-point plan that you came up with, and I think it's a testament to what you bring to the role. So congratulations, and you've got some big shoes to fill, but I know you'll fill them well.
Thank you, Councilor. Appreciate that.
Councilor Butler?
Congratulations, Chief.
Thanks, Doug.
So I'm trying to understand, did you promote the firefighters, or did you hire the chief and then he hires the deputy chief and lieutenant? I don't know how it works.
Right, the promotions are mine as the appointing authority. So I already have, the other promotions have already gone through. The 15-day period has already gone by. So that's why we did it, and that's why I did it in that succession.
Okay. And then were there multiple people, or was it generally one person? Like, were all of the interviews essentially not non-competitive, but were there multiple firefighters going for the lieutenant position? Did multiple people? I think only one was qualified to go for chief, but were there multiple applicants for each of the other positions?
The top two were.
I can answer.
Oh, go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, so we have, it's extremely competitive at lieutenant and captain's ranks. There's 8 and 12 maybe on each list respectively.
Okay.
And so we have to pick from within the top 3, and there were some ties as well. So I and the deputy interviewed them extensively, beyond the test score. And then I make my recommendation to the town administrator in writing, and then she approves or denies. But she goes off the recommendation from us, and she followed up with her own interview as well.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a very good and transparent process. And we had a lot of great candidates. You're somewhat handcuffed with civil service, but we try to, we don't want, the top test score on any given Saturday to be the person in the seat all the time. It doesn't work that way. There are departments that do that sometimes. We want the most well-rounded individual, and that's what we strive for. And we expanded the matrix a little bit. Again, really in-depth interview, about 20 questions from my staff, upper-level command staff to these people. Would love to run them through my own assessment center, but that's not the way we do it. And then we forward them off to Dee, and she was great, very supportive, and did her homework. My people really appreciated the interview process, I can tell you that.
and I was getting phone calls right away. It was a big change, you know. It's their life's work. Even on our end, it was extensive. It wasn't handled like that before. It was, you know, their adult life's work, and they were very grateful to be given the interviews, to come in and have us, you know, have me go at them with a lot of questions. And, you know, it's very difficult. It's a lot of material to study, and there's a lot of technical things to get to the position to put yourself in for the job, and it's very competitive. You see the deputy and myself sitting at the top. There's a reason why the people don't take those tests. On the way up, it's very competitive, and then, you know, you have to have a lot of credentials to be up there to take that. So.
Okay.
Counselor Fox.
Congratulations.
Thank you,
We're
Stacy.
thrilled, and I'm the liaison to the fire department.
I know
and
that.
Mike and I sat together, you know, several times, and just whatever was on his mind, and you know, budget things, staffing needs, et cetera, et cetera. So I just make myself available, you know, as you settle in, and you know, we'll find some time, and I can pop in and just get to know each other a little better.
That would be great. Appreciate that.
Sure.
We have a lot to talk about.
Good. Yep.
Counselor Chrisley.
Just one quick clarification with the assessment center. Is that the group assembled for when you have this need for multiple civil service exams? Is that a pretty standard process when you have like 4 people to go through the civil service advancement?
Correct.
Okay.
It's required at the chief's level. The assessment center is required of the chief officer. It's not required of the deputy, but we've done it the last 2 times. Some departments do all ranks that way. It can get pricey, but it's a great vetting process. It's the real deal. You get grilled with high-level officers, all kinds of situations. The emergency scene's live time. It's on a big screen. They burn a building in your town down, or, you know, the other emergency scenario I had was I had a large-scale structure fire with a 200-unit building, et cetera. But the other scenario I got was the graduation at Wakefield High School with a chemical release onto the bleachers with 3,500 people in the stands. So we went through that, and
just recently you went through that.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway, it's I like that kind of stuff. I mean, that's what we do. It's like if you're in the military, you train all the time.
Day at the park, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Counselor Fox.
First off, congratulations. I'm looking forward to having you be our new chief. I've worked in the past. I think you're great.
Absolutely.
Along those lines, I remember being a Boy Scout. We did a town-wide mock disaster.
Yeah.
Similar to your bleacher thing. We did a bleacher collapse at Wakefield High School.
It was at the high school.
It was at the high school. The bleachers brought it up to me.
Yep.
I know you mentioned more community efforts. Is that the kind of thing that you would like to roll out, or it's been a long time since I know we've done something like that?
Yeah, we used to bring the car in, do the Jaws of Life right at the field,
that kind
right?
of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I remember all that. I was part of a lot of it. Yeah, we want to involve the community more. We want to get them involved in certain things. There's different liability now as time has gone on. You know how that is.
Yeah, putting a bunch of makeup on kids is by hospital.
But you never forget it when you're a scout, right? And yeah, we want to do a lot of that stuff, expose people without frightening them. But, you know, the more education you get, right, the more knowledge you have, the less frightened you're going to be. And as Chief Sullivan showed in all those years in fire prevention in the schools, which we really want to bring back, I'm going to put that out there right now, that needs to come back to get into the schools and make an impression. We don't have the time or resources to do what we want to do with that, and it's long overdue. That's something I really look forward to. Community risk reduction and bringing the people back into the schools and assisting with fire prevention. It makes an impression.
That's it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So I want to say congratulations as well. And Dee, I just want to thank you for this whole process. When we hired you, we didn't know that you would have to deal with a retiring fire chief. That was not on our bingo card. And I think this whole process, explaining it, but also just taking the time and interviewing the candidates so they get to meet you and you get to meet all of them. Like, I think that's great leadership, so I really appreciate that. I love the slide of the 8 priorities. Chief, we talked about, we were in a parking lot somewhere and you talked about ideas of a strategic vision, a strategic 5-year plan. And that's something that I've talked a lot to Dee about, is we have departments doing that. And so I'm looking forward to you meeting with Stacy, but also coming and talking about those 8 priorities and kind of the strategic vision and plan that you have for your department. So I'm really excited about this next chapter. Kudos to the past chapter. No complaints about the past chapter, but I think the future looks pretty bright.
It's rare that a town administrator gets to appoint a chief. I don't know of anyone that's had to appoint the entire command structure. So in the first 6 weeks of their employment, but I just go with my gut and how best practices in the past, and I think that's just the best way to do things.
We do have one additional, too. We have a firefighter in that chain, because it leaves a gap start to finish. So, and we have 4 firefighters in the chain right now. They've been hired. They'll be at the academy in January and February, and we just put a conditional offer of employment for that 5th one that will fall in line there. And hopefully we can get them in by March or April. It's a backup, but we're short-staffed and we've got to get everybody back. So a lot of changes. Things are going in the right direction. The place is hopping. I wouldn't lie to you. It really is. A lot of people are looking forward to it. We have a lot of young men and women, and they're excited to have a new town administrator, too. And we really appreciate Dee backing us and doing the right thing as far as vetting everybody out and full transparency with everything. This is what we want, to explain the process. And the strategic plan, that's ongoing, so it needs to be updated. It's not just, okay, here it is on paper. We revisit it, every 6 months, and we see if we're on track. I meet with Dee, and, we're going to make it happen. So I appreciate the support greatly, and I look forward to working with all of you. I really do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for staying.
Yeah, congratulations. And Dee, I think you'll share more information, right, about maybe an event
Oh, that's right.
for the promotions?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. So thank you for reminding me. So we will be doing a swearing in, a pinning ceremony for all of these ranks. This is a big deal for these gentlemen and their families. So we will be having an event where people can come and watch as they get their next rank. It's a really cool ceremony. I've done it in all of the communities that I've been in. It's very important that we not only thank them for stepping up in the command structure, but also the families for the sacrifices that they make when their loved ones go up in rank in a department such as this. And in a smaller community, these opportunities are not common. So we need to celebrate the successes and the wins. So we will be doing that, and information will be going out very soon.
Thank you. Okay, item F, flag policy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in the packet, there is a proposed revision to our current flag policy that I've put together and will be proposing that we adopt. So as background for this, we've had our current policy in place for a couple of years. And over the last, I believe, 18 months, we have flown 3 additional flags that aren't referenced in the policy on the second flagpole at the AmeriCall Civic Center by virtue of an approval vote by the town council. So last year at this time, the council approved a motion by then Councilor Vincent to fly the Pride flag for designated dates in June, the Juneteenth flag for other designated dates in June, and the AmeriCall division flag basically for every other day out of the year. So that flies for the other 11 months plus June 14th in honor of the birthday of the U.S. Army. That authorization, that approval that the council made last year expires at the end of this calendar year. And so rather than making a motion to fly those same flags for the current year, what I would like to propose is a policy revision that would make the practice that we followed over the last 18 months with these 3 flags permanent. And so what the policy change would do, it doesn't actually change the practice that we've practically followed over the last few years, but it would basically institutionalize the flying of those 3 flags as we have in the past, so that the town council wouldn't have to revote every year. Now, this is a policy change by the council, and so we as the council can change our policies anytime we want. If we want to make any other additions to it, any other changes, that's up to either the 7 of us or the people that sit in these seats in the future. But the proposal that I would like to adopt is, again, changing the policy so that we effectively make permanent what we've done over the last year and a half as we move forward. So with that, Madam Chair, I would actually make a motion to approve the policy changes as outlined in the packet.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Councillor Carney.
I'm not going to belabor this, but as a veteran, I'm totally opposed to this. I'm totally opposed to what you did last year. And I sat here last year with the chairman of the Veterans Advisory Committee and a representative of the Commissioner of
Human Rights Commission.
Human Rights Commission. And I asked a couple of questions. I asked, did the chairman of the Veterans Advisory Committee have a vote from the advisory committee? He said, I'm going to get it. I asked it the second time. He said, I'm going to get it. And then I mentioned the fact that for 2 years in a row, the Commissioner on Civil Rights, at their annual get-together with Martin Luther King, the flag was put on the side of the stage. And they never, ever, saluted the flag. They never did the Pledge of Allegiance. So I brought that to her attention, and I got a sharp response to say that, well, she's not in charge of setting up the stage. At that event last year, Steve Mayo had to go in and put the flag on the stage, and they still did not do a Pledge of Allegiance, and they're doing this with our money. And so this past week, the chairman of the Veterans Advisory Committee told me they took a vote. So I looked at the meeting, and you can look at the meeting. The meeting stands for itself, and they talked about the fact that this was a compromise. Because he spoke to me, I thought he'd be here tonight. I would have asked him what he meant by a compromise. And to me, a compromise in regards to my flag would be the fact that, I've suggested in the past that they fly the gay rights flag on the bandstand 365 days a year, and the Juneteenth flag they can put on the cultural center. But as a soldier, as a veteran, you don't look up and salute the American flag and have anything else displace it. In fact, one of the veterans last night was misinformed because at the meeting of the Veterans Advisory Committee, because he asked, are they lowering the flags? Is the other flags lower than the American flag? And the chairman said yes, and that's not the truth. And when I watch these ceremonies on cable, and you have them. He's right here, and I'm speaking behind your back. I'm speaking publicly. The fact that the flags are always up at the same level. So this is upsetting to me. I think it's a wrong thing to do. I think there's a better way of celebrating. I think having the gay flag on the bandstand would be a welcoming to the community. But as a veteran, I don't want to look up and salute a flag. And I think the compromise that the Veterans Advisory Committee made, whether they were well informed or not, was wrong. So I'm going to vote against this.
Councillor Constance.
I just want to be clear that I got an email from Paul Cancellieri, am I saying his name right? Who's the chair of the Veterans Advisory Board. And oh, hey, how are you?
May I?
Please, don't let me put words in your mouth. I will stop speaking. I have an email, and we have the person who sent the email here to talk. Hello.
Good evening. I'm Paul Cancellieri, the chairman of the Veterans Advisory Board, and I'm here to answer your questions.
what I was going to point out is I wanted to make it clear that you communicated to me that the board voted 5-0 in favor of the proposed policy.
Is 5-0 in favor of a flag request like we did in 2025 for 2026?
Which is what's reflected in the policy that's being
It's the
put
same
forth
thing
this
that's
evening.
reflected
Okay.
in the policy,
Just
correct?
to be clear, okay. Which I also am in favor of, Counselor Chines.
Any other questions or comments?
Can I just make one clarifying comment? Last year at the, I can't remember if it was the Pride ceremony or the Juneteenth ceremony, when the flag was initially raised, it was mistakenly raised up to the top of the flagpole. However, it was then lowered so that it was lower than the American flag. And again, I can't remember which ceremony it was, but whatever ceremony came later, the DPW employee who was working the event, did make sure that that was addressed. So certainly from that perspective, there was an error initially in the ceremony, but it was something that was corrected thanks to the staff that was on site.
Councillor Fox?
I know flags have come up a lot at the town council over the years. I know this being the permanent plan was mentioned, as in this won't have to happen many more times every year, or I know Bob had his AmeriCal division flag compromise that he added last year. So this could be the end of the flag debate if voted on tonight and passing? Unless someone was to bring it up again?
I mean, again, the council could revisit it any time, but this
does seem to cover
effectively
everything.
Institutionalize what we've
Right, it
what
seems
we've
to
done.
cover everything. I understand Councilor Carney's issues with it. I think it's a pretty good compromise.
Councillor Butler?
I think, and especially because we're saying that it's the last 18 months, but realistically, it's been, what, 7 or 8 years that we've flown the Pride flag, and how many years have we flown Juneteenth?
2026 will be the 8th year of the Pride flag, the 5th year of the Juneteenth flag, and the 3rd year for the AmeriCal division flag.
Yeah, and the AmeriCal division flag, previously, that was just another American flag, or what was flying before?
There was nothing flying
we
on
put
the
up a second
flagpole
flagpole.
otherwise. Yep.
Okay. And I know it's something that's near and dear to Councilor Carney's heart. He and I came in at the same time. I came in under the premise that I never want to talk about flags again, so I would like to put this to bed tonight.
Okay, we have a motion and it was seconded. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion passes 6-1. Thank you. Item G, Town Administrator updates.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I wanted to come and give you an update as to what I've been working on. So my presentation format is going to be what I've been working on and then what is on the horizon.
And sorry, just to interrupt,
sure. Go ahead.
because it is officially 3 months today since you started, September 8th, right?
It was October 6th.
It was October 6th. I had the rate completely wrong. Never mind then. It's been 2 months.
2 months and 2 days.
2 months and 2
months
days.
and 2
Why
days.
do I have September 8th in my head? I am sorry. Maybe
That's okay.
when we voted on it. Anyway, go ahead. I thought it would be good for all of us to hear what has been taking up your time, and what you envision will be on the horizon.
Okay. So since October 6th, it's been meetings, and more meetings. I've met with a good number of employees, all department heads, all board committee and commission chairs, both superintendents, all of the union leadership, the Public Employee Committee, which is the health insurance committee that is comprised of all union presidents, both town and school. I sat in on a police department senior staff meeting. I've met with Representatives Wong and Lipper-Garabedian. I have put it out there to the senator, but I'm still waiting to hear back from his staff. We had town meeting thrown in there, the tri-board meeting, we did an MBTA advisory board meeting. I've met with the business community, and then we did the Chamber of Commerce meet and greet event, and I did that with Erin Kokinda, who is our Economic Development Director. So what are some of the events that I've gone to? Well, we did the Eagle Scout project on the Common with Councilor Carney, and I were out there. Was at the open house at the light plant, went to the Women in Business Luncheon where I was asked to speak. I was at the Scholarship Foundation. I attended Spooktacular Halloween, the Wakefield Food Pantry Tour, which was just amazing. That is an amazing organization. Veterans Day, I spoke at Veterans Day. I was also on a Suffolk University Moakley Center panel, went to the Friends Breakfast. I went to the Mass Managers Fall Conference, the Interfaith Thanksgiving Service, and the Chamber of Commerce Meet and Greet. So when I said I was going to get around, I wasn't kidding. So what have I been working on in the office? The ambulance contract that came before you, the fire department promotions that we just spoke about, collective bargaining preparation. We have 5 contracts that are up on June 30, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. I've been looking at different policies, been talking to Joe and his crew about the PFAS, that you got that presentation tonight. During the SNAP benefit crisis, we were working on food insecurity and making sure that we had enough resources and that we were getting that information out to the community. Getting up to speed on the ARPA projects, and again, you'll get a presentation on that next month. Starting the 2027 budget prep, just looking at different employee relations issues, and then starting communication, my 5 for Fridays, which you all see. And I also launched a Thursday Threads, and that's for department heads only. So that's different from the 5 for Fridays. One of the things that I talked about in my interview was about my communication. I feel that you can never over-communicate, and I have had many employees tell me how much they love the 5 for Fridays because I highlight all different departments, all different employees, all different events, and people are like, I never knew that happened, or that's so great. So I like that 5 for Friday format. I think it's going to work out really well. So then what is on the horizon? Obviously the 2027 budget, those 5 contracts, and these are 4 of 5 major unions. So the firefighters, the municipal administrative supervisor and professional, those are like the town hall managers, the police superiors, the police officers, and then laborers or DPW. I'm going to need to get ready for annual town meeting. As you all know, Kevin will be retiring in April. So we need to start looking at that process to replace the assistant town administrator / finance director. And I will be serving as president of the Mass Municipal Managers Association, and I will also continue serving on the executive board of the Mass Municipal Association. Long term, obviously, we have to recapture our AAA bond rating. That's something that's going to be on our minds and on our calendars for the foreseeable future. Organizational chart review. I've talked about this in the past, and I talked about this at the meet and greet. I was posed a tough question, like what would I change coming into Wakefield? And this was my answer, is that I have 23 direct reports. That is not sustainable. That is not a good business model. I know no one in the room except for one person had that many reports when I asked at the meet and greet. So I want to take a look at the organizational chart and start to look at what is going to make sense. Because that's going to feed into our performance evaluation system. I want to implement a performance evaluation system, and it would be very difficult for me to have 23 direct reports with 23 performance reviews annually to meet with 23 people monthly, because that is how I operate. I meet with all my department heads monthly. And so we need to look at that system as well. We need to look at employee training and professional development. There really hasn't been any. And so, if we want to expect our managers to know how to manage, we need to make sure that they have the skills to do so. So we will be looking at that. The employment manual has not been updated since 2019. So that is something that we really need to dig into. It's missing several best practice policies and procedures. So that's something I need to look at. We've talked about succession planning. Looking across the organization, what young talent do we have, what newer people want to move up, maybe not necessarily in the department they're in. Again, it's not just picking one person and saying, oh, we're going to make you, the town administrator. It's looking at people and where they want to go in their own careers. Employee recognition. There is no employee recognition currently in terms of programs like Employee of the Year, Employee of the Month. You know, we can't just give people bonuses and time off as recognition. And I've found throughout my career that recognizing in small things can go a really long way. We're looking at a town space needs assessment, and this is all departments and all buildings to look at, are we in the right spaces? We have some offices that people are really literally on top of each other, and some where people have a lot of space. So doing a comprehensive look at that, and then obviously focus on the downtown. And so I thought maybe a picture, you know, is worth 1,000 words. So here's where I've been. So the top is the open house, middle is the high school tour. That's Town Day with John from the Chamber. That's me with staff at Suffolk University when I was there for the panel. Below that is my swearing in, where you all most of you got to meet my family. Next to that, I call that, and I don't know how the type got over my face, but I call that open door policy, because this very nice man came in and he said, "Where's the boss?" And I said, "I am the boss." And we had a very nice chat. He was a lovely gentleman. Next to that is Rep. Wong and I at Scholarship Night. Next to that is, it's not a great picture. It's me holding a wooden American flag. And beside me are the two Veterans Services staff from North Andover. They were presenting me with a token of appreciation for serving the veterans of North Andover. I was very touched, because I've only seen a couple of those given out in my 7 years in North Andover. So that was very touching to me. And then at the bottom is the Women's Chamber Luncheon. Question, I know I threw a lot at you. Questions, and hopefully I have answers. Yes.
Oh, this is going to be an easy answer. So when you say you meet with your department heads monthly, is that one big round table, or are you breaking it up by area of practice, or how does that work?
Thank you. That's a great question. So we have been meeting monthly as a group of 24 plus myself, 23 plus 1, but I also meet with them individually. So the police chief individually, the fire chief individually. That's how I've always done it. And then once a month we get together as a large group and meet as well. And I have an agenda, and the other department heads are able to bring up agenda items. We always have an icebreaker. And this last one was super fun. I asked what people's favorite childhood gift was. And we found out we have a lot more in common, and many of us were baking lots of stuff in our Easy Bake ovens. But I find, you know, things like that, an opportunity to get everybody together in one room, listening to each other's, you know, complaints, concerns, projects, what's going on, is really a good way for me to get to know the department heads better, but also for some of them to get to know each other better.
Councillor Chines?
I just want to say I so appreciate you sharing this, and I'm very excited about what you've identified as your priorities as we move ahead, both the short term and the long term. I think, you know, one of the things that I was impressed with when we went through the interview process was your experience and your knowledge about, you know, leading a team, leading an organization of this size, and I see the best practice work and just the forethought that goes into that and what you've laid out. And so I think this is great. This is exactly what I feel like we needed our town administrator as we were looking ahead to the future to focus on. And so I'm thrilled that this is what you've identified as your priorities.
Thank you.
Councillor Chrisley?
Yeah, I'd just like to say it's amazing how much work you've got on your plate. And I think it's a really good structure that you've set up. It seems like you've invigorated the staff and been really forthcoming in your communications with them. So I think for a transition, I think you've hit the ground running. So, plus it's very nice to see on a day-to-day basis just how much you're doing, you know, and how many different people you have to interface with. So thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Councillor Butler?
And I think you're doing fantastic in reaching out and doing all of that, and I think the process seems like it's being built fantastically. I think your long run, you should take the AAA bond rating off your to-dos. It's not coming back anytime soon.
Oh,
so like, just
pop my bubble.
Just, you know, no. I think like, don't set yourself up hold on to the AA. That's like, let's make sure that happens.
Do all of the things that would help us get to AAA, but it probably is a longer-term goal.
Yeah, that's why it was on the long term.
I can add another longer.
Yeah, that's gonna be a challenge, but I'm up for it.
No, it's great. I don't know if anyone else.
So that was really helpful. I think it's great. I think in your 2 months, not 3 months, 2 months, all that you've done is great. I think, as Councillor Chine said, you know, we were really excited about what your expertise was, and even you just listing out some of the stuff of updating, you know, the employment manual and focusing on employee training. Like that's been a concern, and performance review has been something missing for a while. And so for you prioritizing that and kind of, you know, working on that in addition to the direct reportees, that was a concern of, I think, everyone at this table, is really great.
I got the nod of appreciation.
And also just to say, like, you know, we all have conversations as we go to these events or we talk to people in town, and we talk to town employees, and so they are noticing the change and they really are appreciative. So I've heard from a couple of your leadership team and just appreciating you bringing them into conversations and highlighting their work. And yes, the 5 for Friday emails are much appreciated. So thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, anything else on this? Great. Okay, moving on. A fiscal year 2027 budget update.
So, me again? All right, onward. So I have Liz Rourke here with me, as she's our town accountant. And this is going to be just basically a shorter version of the tri-board meeting. And I will also be joined by Councillor Chines to help me with part of this presentation. He's going to talk about the MMA's report. So again, we discussed the past, reviewed the present, and predicted the future. And I do need to give slide credits to Dan Sherman and Liz and Councillor Chines, because I did not come up with these particular slides. So here, again, this is our fiscal forecast of local receipts going out from FY 2001 to FY 2025. And this was Dan's slide. And again, you can see that we had a lot of investment income, and that's from the high school borrowing. As you'll see later on in the forecast, that particular receipt is going to go down as we pay for the high school. And state aid, while it looks like state aid is great and going up, it actually is not rising at the same level as actual dollars. And Councillor Chines has a slide on that, but this just shows our state aid over time. This next slide is our financial forecast of free cash, what we've had. And again, this just goes to show we're going to need to really stay diligent to our financial policies and be very particular about what items that we choose to spend free cash. And I will turn it over to Jonathan to go through his slides.
Sure. So very briefly, because I know we got the larger thing. Hopefully folks have had a chance to look at the report. If we flip to the next slide, really 5 key findings that in a lot of ways sort of validate, I think, what we've been feeling in Wakefield for a long time. I don't know if there's, comfort in knowing that we're not alone. Cold comfort, I guess, but, that is the reality that we see. So the big 5 findings are, we know that state aid in Massachusetts has been less generous than the U.S. average and has not kept up with inflation. And so the second point, in real dollars, that state aid has actually fallen since 2008. It's a really important thing to see. All municipalities, we talked about this at the tri-board meeting, are struggling with the 2.5% cap on local tax increases. We fortunately in Wakefield have not been in a situation where we have had to look at an override, at least in recent history. But for those that do, it's a big challenge. You either have communities that don't have the income level to support that increase in taxes, or they don't have the property value to generate a whole lot of revenue. And that's point number 4. And then finally, the 5th point I think is really important. While there's been amazing strides made in education funding in Massachusetts, most of it has gone, not inappropriately so, to gateway cities and struggling urban districts. And that's been an amazing investment, but we in a suburban community and many of our colleagues in rural communities aren't seeing the same level of support. So this first slide really just illustrates where we are relative to other states, again, further on the right-hand side of the graph than we'd like to see. This slide that we talked through illustrates the impact of 2.5. The one that I really want to highlight is on the left-hand side. Real spending growth from Massachusetts cities and towns is below 1% when you factor in inflation. And so as we look at Prop 2.5, that's had a real substantial impact on our ability to expand the services that we offer. And then finally, just the path forward. This is a crisis of the state's level. MMA is very close to releasing a set of policy recommendations that relate to this, and so keep your eyes out for that, and I'm sure we'll spend some time on that in a future meeting.
And so the budget process, so we've already started the budget process. Again, departments are going to be counseled to level fund all but contractual items. And again, contractual items consist of collective bargaining agreements that have already been settled or contracts that have already been entered into. And any new projects are going to have to link to some budget priority that we have. Every line item will be reviewed. Obviously, we'll do our presentations before the boards, and again, spring town meeting. And just looking at it from a calendar standpoint, and I won't go through and read all of this, but we are in the throes of it now. Budget documents will be going out to the departments shortly. We discussed it at the last department head meeting, and then January to April, we'll be presenting the budgets and going through and looking out for what we're going to see for our budgets for FY27. What factors into budget? Well, the state of the state. What happens at the federal level goes down to the state level. That goes down to us. The last meeting that I was at for the MMA, revenues are on target for the state, which is good. Again, union contracts, we have 5 of them up on the town side, so Liz and I will start working on the analysis of that financial impact. Group insurance, we're watching very closely, as I think everyone is. We're expecting double-digit increases, so we're working closely with our consultant and watching what's happening at the GIC level very carefully. But local receipts to date are good for Q3, so we were very optimistic about that. And then again, this is one of Dan's slides, just forecasting for the future, taking into account inflation, net state aid increases at about 4% a year. Local receipts have been the same. Healthcare double digits again. We're watching that, looking for any energy efficiencies or any other ways that we can save money. And the target will be to maintain 3 to 4% increases in the budgets. And this is just looking at the forecasting of expenditures and income. And I know this is always like the doomsday, we're going to be $7 million in debt in 2035. This is just really projecting way out with a lot of unknowns and a lot of variables. So I don't want people to panic when they see that number. This is the free cash estimates. Again, we really need to start looking closely at what we're using free cash to pay for, and what is a sustainable expense and what is not. So I know you all saw this presentation, but we wanted just to give it again, just for anyone at home that didn't watch the tri-board meeting. And again, I have Liz here with me to help with any questions.
Any questions or comments? It's always a nice reminder of what the process will be like. And starting in January, we get full on into the budget season. And so most of our meetings will be talking about the budget. So we just wanted to prepare everyone as we get into the new year. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you at every single meeting that we have, Liz, and we do hoped to put you earlier in the schedule. Thank you for waiting today. That,
And Liz has been extraordinarily helpful to me, learning the budget and getting up to speed on the finances. So I really do appreciate that, Liz. Thank you. Yes, we are.
okay, no other questions or comments. Let's move on.
Announcements?
We did donations, we did approval. We will go to announcements. Does anyone have announcements? Councillor Chines.
Just very briefly, so in addition to everything else going on this time of year, for the last several years, the school department has done school tours for the town council and school committee. I went to the Dolbear last week. I'm going to the Greenwood tomorrow, and I know they have a few others scheduled this week and next week. I just wanted to put it out there for folks that haven't had a chance to do any of them. Obviously, it's hard to get to every single school. I don't think I've ever done that in one year, but it is incredibly valuable. I would say for me, as someone who has children who've gone through 4 Wakefield public schools, I still find that I learn something on these tours. So just wanted to pass that along to my colleagues. You should have an email from Kara Morrow. I think that Sherry sent around some updates as well, but would just encourage anyone who's able to join any of those tours. It's well worth the hour to do so.
And there are 2 tomorrow, Greenwood and Woodville.
Woodville, okay. Yeah. Great. I will be at Greenwood, but not Woodville. What's that?
Greenwood's at 8?
9.
9.
9. Okay.
And then otherwise, I just wanted to thank the town administrator and our communications director. So we always have fun events going on in December in Wakefield, and we actually have a link on the front page of our website that catalogs all of these things that are happening, including a cookie swap that's coming up. So I just appreciate the fact that that information is out there. So rather than saying, here are all the things coming up, I can say, check out the town website and look at some of the great holiday events that we have coming up.
Yeah, there really is a lot too. I was looking at it the other day, and I was taken aback. You know things are happening, but to see them all listed was really impressive. Including, I have to put a plug in, this Thursday night in a couple of days, 6:30 at the Civic Center. I'm sponsoring a cookie swap, so come on down. You do have to sign up ahead of time just so we get your allergy cookie information, but it's going to be Administrator Casey's doing it, so it's not competitive. It's very friendly, but we're going to have a lot of fun.
When I told my mom, which many of you have met my mom, that I was going to enter my grandmother's very sacred oatmeal cookie, chocolate chip cookie recipe, she said, do I have to give the ingredients and, the amounts? Because she said, you can't do it if it's that. So I said, no, Mom, I just have to tell them that it's got nuts in it and oatmeal. Right. I'm like, I'm not going to give away the candy store and the whole family tradition. So it was touch and go there for a while, whether I was going to participate.
I've actually gotten that question to the point that I'm going to send out an email tomorrow specifying you don't have to share your recipes. It's okay. We just need to know the allergy information. Yes.
So it's going to be fun.
Good. I can't wait. Yeah. I love oatmeal cookies.
Come out of there with the number of participants times the number of bags of cookies.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
that's how it should work. We'll see. I mean, this is the first time we're doing it, so, we're kind of all flying free, so.
Horseradish
we'll
is the
see.
secret ingredient.
Do a lot of baking, Doug?
No.
Any other announcements? I was just looking at the website. There is so much happening already. A lot happened last week. Just some, I'm going to highlight that we are having our annual town menorah lighting on Sunday at 4 p.m. on the Upper Town Common. Also, for those still interested, you can get your flu shot. The flu clinic is happening. It looks like tomorrow and Monday, but call Health and Human Services Department to find out more information about that. And also just want to thank all the high school students who helped paint a lot of our businesses and town buildings throughout town. It looks great, gets us in the holiday mood. Okay. Any matters not anticipated for the agenda? Okay, then do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, great. We will adjourn with our next regular town council meeting on Monday, January 12th. Have a happy new year, everyone. Bye-bye.